NItro Is THE Glory, but e-buggy pays the bills. Welcome to the No Name RC podcast. Get ready for some serious bench racing. But be warned, we speak our minds, express our thoughts, and sometimes things can get a little rowdy.
Hate, and he just was influenced by the hate coming from the left, the hate coming from the right.
And let's get back to more club racing and less of this money-grabbing book racing.
It's hard not to be arrogant when you're always right. You know?
See what I mean? That's exactly why people call you arrogant, Max.
You may not agree with everything we say, but it's definitely worth a listen.
And our pick, can you stop whatever you're doing?
Join your host, Leslie the Great, with co-hosts and guests as they get together to chat RC.
Hey, after that race that I watched this morning, I have to talk about it.
There we go. $100 right here. $100 throw. Oh no! I like this.
Yes, indeed. Nitro is the glory, but e-buggy pays the bills. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 205 of the No Name RC podcast. I'm your host, Keenan White, aka Lefty the Great. And this week, it's not a regular podcast. It's like a world special, I want to say. So, before I go on any further, I just want to say thank you to everybody that supports us. Shout out to the NNRC Squad around the world. We can't do this without you guys. I'm going to the Worlds on Thursday. I can't do it without you guys. Thank you for all the support. Please continue to support the podcast by liking, sharing, hitting that notification button on YouTube. If you're listening to it on the audio only side of things, please leave a review, share. We need to help get the NNRC out in the algorithms out there so we can start going viral and, promoting the love of RC racing. Also, shout out to the patrons of the podcast. I can't do it without you guys. You guys go the extra support. You will get early release of this podcast. Thank you guys to the patrons of the NNRC. If you wish to be a patron, you can. The link is in the written description of this podcast. Also, we can't do this without sponsors. Thank you to all the companies that are helping me go to the Worlds, and thank you to all the companies that support this podcast throughout the year. We can't do it without you guys. Remember, everybody, showing the sponsors some love, shows the podcast some love. And in the written description of this podcast, we do have links, affiliate links, coupon codes, or just straight up links to some of the companies or to all of the companies that sponsor us. And remember, clicking on those links helps us out a little bit. If there is no coupon code or no affiliate link, just leave them a note and say, hey, I heard about it on the No Name RC podcast. And it helps us out a lot, really does. So thank you to all of them. They are Invisible Speed, TZO 200 Tires, TNR Fuels, High Tech RC, Beach RC, Mayako, Techno RC, RCGP, Papa Willie's Traction Tonic for all your traction needs, G-Spec RC tuning for all your cabling needs, Some Pedal USA for your race batteries, Racecraft USA, they just launched their new command module, Clinic RC, House of RC. You can also find all my blogs that I'm doing for the Worlds on House of RC as well as Facebook, RC3 Raceway in Alabama. Shout out to the drivers that support this podcast and the respectful business they are. David Ronnefalk, the Viking, the Dr. Alex Hagberg, Jared Thibault, and Robert Battier. Thank you for all their support. We greatly appreciate it. So this is episode 205, everybody. So this is just like a 2.5 hour history lesson. So last week, I wrote a blog about the history of the Worlds, and it's just what I was able to discover on Wikipedia and talking to people. And then obviously from my memory, as it got closer to the time that I remember the Worlds. And it all started with a conversation with Mick Cradock. I remember reading his blogs on e-buggy. He's been to like every World since 1990, except 2010, which we clarified. So he was talking and he found the blogs for me because Neo doesn't exist anymore. And he found them for me, and then he said, hey, why don't we get you on the podcast to have a sit-off, and we'll talk about the Worlds. And it's exactly what we done. He just came off the Hearts GP, which RC Racing TV covered. They will also be covering the Worlds, by the way, next week, starting next Tuesday. And you can follow. I'll be working alongside them a little bit as well. So looking forward to that. But yeah, we set up a date. It was 8 o'clock this morning, his time. It's my time, sorry, 12 o'clock his time. and Mick was a soldier. We sat through, we talked about every worlds that he has been to since 1990. And it was a great talk. We had a little chat about Radovan at the end and what he expects and what people can expect. And I hope you guys enjoy it. There's no ads. There's no nothing. This is just a world special with Mick Cradock of Kyosho talking about every world he's been through since 1990. I want to thank Mick Cradock for his time. And I hope you guys enjoy this chat as much as I did, because it was really good talking to Mick. He has a lot of great stories, some that we can tell on the air and some that we can't. But I'm sure the ones that we can't, I'll hear about them all when I go to Spain. So with that said, please welcome Mick Cradock of Kyosho in what we are calling this the NNRC IFMAR Worlds History Special. So every time there's a Worlds coming up, I'm reminded to some blogs that the gentleman to my virtual right over here, Mr. Mick Cradock, has written. And I kind of reached out to him about 2 weeks ago, and I was asking him if he had any rough copies of these blogs, because they were NeoBuggy, and now NeoBuggy doesn't really exist anymore. So it's a shame these blogs aren't easily found, because there's a lot of history. They are very well written as well, by the way, Mick. And we found the links. You sent them to me, so I have been looking over them and enjoying some of the stories. But yeah, I really, really miss your blogs. They were very well written. They are very well published. They went into very good detail. And right now, like, you're probably the one guy who's been to the most world championships I know.
Thank you.
Yeah, you started in, so people don't know who the gentleman is. His name is Mick Cradock. He's been with Kyosho since, when did you start with Kyosho, Mick?
I've been with Kyosho since 1988.
1988. So what,
Yeah.
It's 2022 now, so that's quite a long time. My math is really bad. But I'm sure you know how many years you've been with them. But that's quite a long time. We don't really see people that stay around a company that long anymore. You, Neil Craig comes to mind as well. Even though he's more of a driver, you're more of a team manager, distributor sales and whatnot. But definitely you are a legend within the Kyosho in RC, because maybe you're not a driver, but you've been around and you're as a team manager. You've been to many races. You've been a part of the golden years of Kyosho when they were winning championships, and I don't think we'll ever see that matched again. I think it's 8 world championships you have in Nitro Buggy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever see that matched. Ever. So
For a long time, mate.
Yeah, it's going to be a long time. But yeah, definitely have seen the ups and downs of Kyosho, the highs, the lows. But you've been to all these world championships. You've been a part of teams that have won it. You've been a part of teams that have lost it. But your experience is definitely well versed, because you look at it from a very different way. And I think you bring it to a perspective of not as a racer, but more of as a person that's in attendance there. So you get to see a lot more. So, Mick, tell us a little bit about your first world. You said it was in Bangkok in Thailand?
Yeah, well, when I had started in 88, I did a couple of nationals, and then I quite liked it, because my first hobby and my main love is motocross, with you. And so I did a national season in 89 and qualified for the Worlds, which I was quite surprised. Made 4 A finals in a national level that year, so I was quite surprised how well I did. Because I used to do a bit of RC when I was like 12 years old or something like that, and just did electric racing mainly. So from there, I managed to qualify, like I just said, for the Bangkok Worlds, and one of my friends who I met in 1989, Stuart Wilcox, was also a very well achieved racer that he doesn't get a lot of publicity for, but you'd be surprised. Like Stuart Wilcox, very good driver, led a world championships a few times as well. I think he's been in 3 or 4 main finals in the Worlds as well, yeah.
Okay.
So I got invited by his father, who was the Kyosho team manager then, to come to Bangkok, because one of the guys couldn't make it, and there was a spare place on the team. So I went there. So that was my first Worlds, first time. I was using a Kyosho car, obviously, before, from 88. I like the brand, just like the way it was. So that was it. And we went to Bangkok, which is quite exciting, with my wife, Michelle.
First time was that your first time traveling to the Far East for you?
Yeah, first time. Yeah, we're racing abroad or anywhere.
Yeah. Was you nervous about it?
Yeah, a little bit. It was just getting used to everything. You know, where checking in was a nightmare. You know, you like get your car scrutineered. Everyone had to do it. It was just a massive queue, heat. Just getting used to the whole thing. And as soon as we landed in the hotel. Straight from there, we went straight to the track. Started practicing because it was like a free-for-all practice then. There wasn't no set-out practices like they're organised now. It was just like queuing up from the rostrum. So you can imagine 120 or 150 drivers all queuing up for the rostrum and trying to get as much practice in there as they can. Even their mechanics sort of standing in place with them with a frequency peg then, so you forget about the crystals and frequencies as well.
Yeah,
so
people would. There's people in RC that wouldn't even know about that. That are in RC right now that wouldn't even know about that.
Yeah, so you can imagine how hard it was to try and get a practice in.
Who were the fast guys at this period in 1988? Well, 1990. Sorry.
Fast guys was Versailles from France driving the. I think it was not the Sikkim car, but I can't remember. The car now. Sorry.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. There's a fast black guy as well who's unfortunately passed away now.
Oh yeah. Where was he from?
He was from France as well.
Okay.
Yeah. He made the main final. Very good character, but unfortunately, I didn't know him for too long. I only knew him for racing. He only raced in 1990. I think he retired in 92. He'd been in like from way back in the day to 86.
Okay.
So someone will remember.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I would like to know that too. But
yeah.
What do you? So you think now we have so many manufacturers out there right now. I mean, more than anybody, chassis manufacturers. But even back then, in the 80s and 90s, there was quite a few. I mean, maybe not. I think Kyosho took it to a whole other level. You know, Kyosho and Mugen took it a whole different level. But I remember old 1/8 platforms like the Yankee and the Hunter.
So the guy was as well, and I think maybe Craddick was driving for that as well. He was very fast.
Yeah, so it was a few brands around at that time. It wasn't just Kyosho and Mugen.
And Mugen had just come on the scene actually. So they went there. Sonada was driving. Obviously, he won the world championship that year. So it was a big shock. The engine was on the other side to what we normally run.
Yes.
So, totally different car. And this Mugen come along. We'd heard of Mugen before, but I only knew Mugen as like linked with Honda. They used to do like these fast engines or fast motorbike, Honda motorbikes and cars, known as Mugen. But I asked if it was something to do with that to the team manager, who was Steve at the time. Steve, I don't know what his proper Japanese name was, but he was a nice guy. And he had Sonada and another guy with him, and they finished first and third. Kanaya should have won, to be honest with you. I'm not being biased because it was Kyosho. They'd done a lot of homework. The car was awesome. But he ran out of fuel. His mechanic ran him out of fuel twice.
Really?
With an OS engine, which shouldn't happen, really. You know?
What do you remember about that track in particular that kind of shocked you? Because there must have been a shock coming from the UK at that time to tracks like that.
Yeah, because we were used to racing in grass then.
Right.
When we used to turn a track, it was just laid down with some hose piping, and it was just grass. And and I know your favourite word is the track will mature, and it matured to dirt in the end. But it was good because you had some grip on the outside, no grip on the main line, and obviously the bumps developed as well, so it wasn't used to having cars driven over. It was all virgin ground all the time. So when we got to this track, it was total, for me, it was undrivable to start off with, because it's not like the oiled preem tracks you get now. It was just rolled and watered, and that was it. And then in the end, it was just digging out.
Really?
Massive hole. Yeah.
So I have a question. So according to Wikipedia, this is the Maxima Racing Club. Was that anything to do with the actual Maxima Racing fuels?
Yeah.
And yeah,
fuel, and they made some other products like glow starts. This is like when I went there, it was the first time I ever saw like a remote starter box that we use now. Before it used to have like either a handheld motor with a wheel on it, and you turn the car on its side and start it, and then you had a glow start connected to like a 1.5 volt jelly battery. And this is the first time I see like a glow start like this. A portable one.
Yeah.
It wasn't connected to a wire to the starter box, and we had this great big box that was massive that we had to connect to a 12 volt. And they had all this contained in a little box. So I think that was something to do with Maxima, was making the glow starts and the starter boxes. So it was quite an eye opener, and it was just like my first Worlds was like my first Euros as well. It's like you go there and it's like it's the first time you ever see a colour TV. Like, because showing my age now, that when we used to have a black and white TV, and then when my parents a colour TV, it's just amazing. It was like watching it in 3D. All of this stuff that you just glossed over in magazines, because you never had no internet or anything, no sat navs, anything like that to get you to the track. So just a totally different world to go to.
I bet you was hooked after that though. After that first Worlds, you was like, I want to do this again.
Yeah, it was that addictive that I give up motocross, which I loved, because I could see me enjoying this more, because I love traveling. I love traveling at that time.
Right.
So,
and travel must have been so much different, so easier but difficult back then. No internet, everything was long distance phone calls. One guy said to me, imagine organizing the Worlds back in the 80s or like early 90s when there was no internet and you had to long call people and all that, and letters.
Letters that we got. I think our BRCA would get a information sheet, which probably just an A4 piece of paper with a map and what was there, facilities, and that was it. Really, we didn't know what we were going to. We didn't even know if we had to take a table. There's like undercover pitting or workbenches or whatever.
Yeah, and here I am like, oh, I need to have internet as soon as I land in Spain on Friday morning, and I'm like investigating where I'm going to buy a SIM card in the airport. So things have changed so much, like truly amazing. Let's see, who won that race? Oh, Sonata won that race. So that was Mugen's, was that Mugen's first win?
That was their first World Championship, It was obviously Sonata was an on-road driver, and he developed a off-road car. So that's why I think the engine was on the other side to start.
Right, that would make sense.
An over Rossi engine he was using as well. It always seemed really rich to me, the car. It didn't like rev out or anything, but it just kept going. It just kept plodding around at a steady speed. Where Kanai where he had his first engine cut in the final, he got back into the lead. Because in them days you could, everyone's expected to have an engine cut. You could guarantee out of the 10, because don't forget, it was only 10 cars in the final as well, and 4 automatically got in. So it was the top 3 from each semi-final then.
So how did the other guys get in? Through time?
Yeah, through the top 4 fastest, but it wasn't round by round either. So basically you had to get a blinding run in the first round when the track was flat, and that was it. It wasn't round by round scores or anything like that. It was just purely on time. So in the end, you're doing 6 qualifying heats at 10 minutes of time. You just you've got to be very lucky if you can make it in the 6th round, because the track was like fully blown out by then. So,
because the qualifiers are still 10 minutes time.
Yeah. So you had to refuel. Yeah.
Interesting. So after this race, what happened in your career wise? Was this when you decided, okay, I'm going to make this a career, and or had you at this chance, or by this time you still kind of were just discovering it, I would say.
Yeah. I didn't think of it making it as a career. I just enjoyed the hobby, because it was fun, meeting new people and that. And like I said, it's like watching the first time 3D film or something like that. Everything was in ultra HD. You could see everything clearly. So many different products and ideas that people did on their cars, to make them better. Because these kits, when you bought them kits, I think the Mugen and the Kyosho were the most advanced kits that you could actually use out of the box, but a lot of the European and Italians, you sort of like had to create them as you built them out of the kit, you know, and adjust these different things, you know.
Any fast Americans in this time?
Sorry?
Any fast Americans in this time?
Yeah, there was Joel Johnson and Gary Kyers come over. It's funny because the Americans had 50 space, or they automatically get 50 spaces out of 150. And they were so. I don't know if you noticed in my blogs, I was always making fun of the Americans because they only got 4 spaces up on the first one, and then they got bigger and bigger and bigger as it went on, as they noticed it. But I was surprised, you know, that the Americans, I was expecting them to do a lot better than they did. No disrespect to them, you know, because Joel Johnson's an awesome driver as well, but known as an on-road driver again. But I think Joel made the semi-finals. He wasn't in the final with that one. Yeah, no disrespect to him. I thought he would do better than what he did. He went for lightness with the car. He fully he put a carbon fibre chassis on, which I thought was crazy, instead of an aluminium one, to take the heat away, because it was like 40 Celsius in Thailand in February of that year.
Oh, it's been hot.
It was hot, yeah, and humid as well. And so I was surprised he did that. And he had a massive head. I think it was who's the guy that used to do all of the heads?
O'Donnell. Steve O'Donnell.
Yeah. So I think it was an O'Donnell head he did, and a massive head on it, which I think can cause tuning problems as well with a big head, because all right, it's taking the heat away too much, so you're going to lean the engine off, and so it's not giving lubrication to the bottom end, so less lubrication, less power.
So much unknown in 8 scale back then too. Still a lot. Yeah. A lot of tinkering.
Yeah, because I was used to motocross and that, so I knew a bit about engines and engine tuning, getting, and we were just coming in. Yeah, obviously in 1980s the water cooled bikes were there, and I couldn't understand why we hadn't got water cooled nitro engines, and still haven't now.
I know. I mean, it would be cool to see. I wonder if we can make them efficient enough to be racing machines, though.
Yeah, interesting on tolerances.
Yeah. All right. So let's fast forward 1992. 2 years more. Yeah. Solid. You should be solid, Kyosho. Did you go as a racer this time? Did you go to Germany as a racer?
Yeah. Yeah, went as a racer. Again, a totally different track. They started, we went for warm-up, but we didn't race on the actual track this time. So they were even starting to do warm-up. So we'd go to Germany to meet all the other guys, all the team guys, share information. Kyosho even took a soil sample home of the actual track just to get a tyre right, because then the manufacturers were making their own tyres. So you had a Kyosho brand, a Mugen brand, GRP was about then, I think, started, and the French company, Needle Pro, they were making tyres.
I remember them.
Yeah, and all the foam inserts, you know, I can remember running without any inserts before. Just glue the tyres on and away you go. But the insert was an option.
Really? So, but you said the track was not on the same place? So the soil sample was...
Yeah, the soil sample was from the actual track where it was going to be. We went to the track that was still being built. So we raced nearby a local German club just to meet the team, and everyone could get used to, you know, Japanese could get used to the air conditions, so their engine tuning was right, and fuels, getting everything right for the fuels. Kanai used to mix his own fuel then. I think we were using 30% nitro, and he put some acetone in and some other lubricant, Clocks oil, and some 2-stroke oil in there. It's done with the OS designer, Yoshida, who finished, I think he finished second in that World Championship, Yoshida, and unfortunately he's not with us either now.
Really?
Which is a great, because he was an awesome designer for OS. I think one of the best, no disrespect to OS now. But he had a total idea, because he was involved a lot with helicopter engines to start with them. So obviously they're revving at a high rev.
They use a lot of oil too.
Yeah, and so he understood what the torques and loads of a off-road car is. It's completely different to an on-road car, you know, where you're going up and down hill, you're getting different torque levels, landing uphill or downhill. It's different. So he understood a lot of demands. He actually designed, remember the boost bottle on the back of the...
Yes.
Where you used to have a little pelham chamber and it would go in between the carb. And I think that's a really good idea.
Really? We don't see that anymore, though. None of that anymore.
Look at that. So,
a lot of things that we done back in the day, we're not seeing them, but they'll come out and be like new, like somebody just discovered them soon. So it's pretty cool. Anything you remember about this track? What was special about it besides it not being in the actual in a different position? It was this track specially built just for the Worlds?
Yeah, especially built again. So no one had practiced on it before ever. So it was all fresh to everyone, which gives everyone a fair crack at the whip. A lot more jumps in it and some rollers and whoops as well. I can remember there was a few bits of section, but unfortunately in the final it rained, or the semi-finals it rained. So everyone's either their transmitter. We had a covered rostrum, but it wasn't highly waterproof. I remember, I think it was actually Sonada that went out where water got into his transmitter and not his car. Yeah.
You would think they would do something like put a plastic bag over it or something.
Yeah. I think someone was in the end. But yeah, so it was survival of the fittest who could keep it running through the mud, because it went from one, where it was like just total downpour to thick. So obviously the car clogging, the engine loading up, burning out clutches, stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and there's no stopping. Like the race goes on.
No, that was it. They went on. The only time they'd stop, they said, is if it started thunder and lightning, because obviously you were using aerials then, as in the transmitter. It's still crystal radio then.
So this is Kyosho's first of the 8 wins. Yeah. How did that feel? Was it a surprise coming from this guy? I don't know how to say his name, but you could probably do.
Togi-san. Yeah, Togi. Yeah, he was from we went to his island. He was from an island called Takamatsu. So
really?
He was wasn't a main driver. He was like a club level driver. But again, no disrespect to him, but you've got to be in it to win it. And he's obviously used to them conditions and knew what he did, and he kept going. And again, the reason why it was a surprise, not that it was a surprise that Kyosho won. It was again, Kanai just had troubles again.
Right, Kanai would have been the favorite to win this, I would say.
Yeah, Kanai was super fast. Him and Sonada were just battling it out each time for TQ. And again, it wasn't round by round, so the track got rougher.
Golden age of Japanese racing.
Yeah. And so it was just them two watching who could go fastest, and that's pretty good. Don't forget, you can't look at it on your phone. There was only one computer to look at, which was in the thing. There was no computer display in the pitting area. And so you had to wait for the results. So there's always a massive, everyone running around to have a scoreboard,
So crazy, so different. So we're so fortunate now. It's so easy nowadays.
Yeah, it's too easy, and it takes a bit of the atmosphere away, unfortunately. Everyone's just sitting in their pit now watching their live scoring or mainstream on the phone there. Before, everyone crowded around watching it, and you'd make sure you get all your car done. They still alternated the rounds, so it was in different. It would start 1 to 12 or whatever, and then 5 to all the way around again. So they alternated that, but you try and make sure you got your car ready so you could go and watch the main top guys that you knew in the top. You had to go and watch. You didn't just, so
do you remember who was the top? Because I like to compare this, because I like to know who the top American guys were at this time, because this is different eras.
Again, Joel Johnson didn't go this time. It's Chris Moore, my good friend Chris Moore. Now this is when we first become friends in '92.
Really?
Unfortunately, I had the hotel room below him, so we were in a balcony and we just noticed stuff like potato chips getting thrown at us and dropped down, and he was with a guy called Jack Johnson, who used to work for Lowe's.
Heard of him.
Yeah, good designer as well. So he was driving Kyosho as well. They were all driving Kyosho there, and I think a lot of the companies just let them drive the 1/8 car so that they could pick off knowledge and that from the Japanese, to deal with.
Well, I mean, at that time, I think at that time, the only two cars, the viable options were Mugen and Kyosho. We'll get into that stage, Well, I mean, it pretty much was at one point. If you didn't drive a Kyosho, you weren't winning. Like, at any level of racing.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was always a Mugen guy, but yeah, I always used to get beat by a Kyosho. It's hard.
Yeah, it's funny. But I couldn't believe the amount of sponsorship that Kyosho put into them. You know what? This is what I hate about hearing now, that Kyosho don't sponsor anyone. They don't do anything. Honestly, they did it 30 years ago. When we went to the Worlds, every marshal that was there had a Kyosho t-shirt on, had a Kyosho raincoat on, had a Kyosho cap. Even all the drivers we got a bag each, Kyosho bag, we got a rain jacket, we got a hat, we even got a Kyosho umbrella.
That's cool though.
Yeah, they put everything into it then. It was like being on the Mercedes or the Red Bull Formula now.
I think people that are new to RC can't fathom how how dominant Kyosho was, how hard it was it was if you like when I listen to Greg, he talks about how competitive it was on the team. You know what I mean? And how you had to fight to keep your position and all that, especially I would say in America, because America it was at that time, well, when the Attitude Era, it was so many fast guys. And he was like, man, you would go to a A main and it would be all Kyoshos.
Yeah. And Kyosho threw so much money into the Americans as well.
Yeah.
Greg got well looked after. Chad Bradley was on the team then as well. And he
Quartz.
Yeah, Quartz was on there a long time.
Well, I see. I know we're going off on tangent, but Derek and the guys have moved to Texas. I think it's good to see. Lutz is doing pretty good. I'm starting to see a resurgence of Kyosho in America.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm starting to see. But it's just when you think about the history, it's just people need to understand. I don't think people really understand how dominant they were.
Yeah.
All right. Next move was in '94. We went to Austria. Why did you think that IFMAR was getting all these worlds too? Just the tracks were better.
Yeah, I don't know how it worked for that. How they pick them, whether it wasn't because Thailand, Bangkok was an awesome facility, undercover. And it was already made. It wasn't like when we went to Germany, it was all massive marquees everywhere for the food and for the pitting and wooden tables put down. So I can't understand that. And in Austria, we were like in the middle. It was like I was expecting Mary Poppins to come out and start singing Edelweiss, because it was beautiful countryside. Like we were in a big valley, so it's the first time we ever driven on going uphill, a steep uphill. It was like nearly 1 in 3 gradient going up the hill.
So they built the track on the hill or a part of the hill?
On the hill, we just had a flat level part at the bottom. So the track, you went up the hill, come down halfway. That's where it's really hard. If you were going too fast, your car would just roll over and roll down the hill.
I want to say I've seen a picture of this track.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good video, and that's where Stuart Wilcox was leading with a Mugen, or maybe leading for the first 15 minutes of the race, and had some problems, And again, that was normal to have an engine cut in a world's final and still make a good placing, And again, only 10 drivers. I think Austria was the first time that they had. No, they didn't. No, I thought it was going to say the first time they had round by round qualifying, but that weren't till '96. So
I'm gonna go look for this video now because I think I've seen this track.
Someone's posted it, and it's awesome. Yeah. So yeah, we had a good team then. We had I think Jamie Booth come. I think Jamie Booth raced.
Who's that?
No, Jamie Booth.
Oh, Jamie Booth.
It was Lawrence Harris, who we used to race with. Them. They were good friends. So we looked after Lawrence Harris there. And with Kyosho. And we had a good strong team. Every country had a good strong team, especially Italy.
Was Kanai still the guy at this time too? Was he still fast?
Yeah. He was very fast again. But he didn't make the main that time because he wasn't used to grass. So it's quite good that, we had all of these different different types of track, because obviously Germany was fully sort of like mud and clay.
Right. So this was just grass and then up a hill.
Yeah, so I thought, oh, I'm in for a good chance. But no.
That was probably why Wilcox was doing pretty good too, grass track. Yeah.
All the English, there was young Dave Crompton then as well with Newgan. He was with Stuart and that, and he was leading. We had a lot of Americans there this time. I think it was the first time the biggest American team turned up there.
Oh, yeah?
And that was I think it was Mark Pavidis' first Worlds running in Newgan. There was Matt Ledger, the late, great Brian Kinwald was driving for his first Worlds and that. So it's really cool to see him and all the American jazz that they bring with it. The nice Newgan jackets in American style. You have to check the pictures out on that. It's pretty cool. So it's a big team. I think there's about 20, but it's quite a funny story. The Newgans had I think the American Newgan distributor was American guy from New York. I can't remember his name, but he had plenty of money. But they had this guy called Jerry Lamb, and I've seen him. I met him the other couple of years back now at the Orange OCRC.
Oh, yeah?
Driving with, I think it was not Jay Halsey. I think Jay Halsey might have been there, and some other guys. They were racing with them, just doing 1/8 electric on the OCRC. But yeah, Jerry Lamb, he was a character, and they reckon he spent all of their budget on food and drink in the first 2 days that they were there, just having parties and fun. And I think, and there was what's his name? I should know it. Derek Fruit and Fibre, Fruitani. He works for Kyosho now. He was on the Newgan team as well, and he was like a good party goer as well, good fun.
Oh, Derek definitely looks like he likes to party.
And that's when all of the before we used to have a big drivers banquet, which was all included in the entry fee. So there wasn't like you have to buy this ticket to go. So everyone went and everyone looked forward to it, which is great again. You know, so everyone, you get all your cars ready at the track. You wouldn't do it at the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
You do it all at the track, and then just look forward to the evening. So I don't know how we really did it in them days, you know, because we used to race all day. It's the same schedule as what we have now. Get all our cars ready. Yeah, maybe. So get all that done, and then we go out for a meal and a drink, and that was it, and have a good time, and then back at the track again. So yeah, we went to this. I was lucky enough; it was on my birthday this day. We went to this the drivers' banquet, and it was like the Americans versus the Europeans. Like we were having like singing contests as Jerry Lamb was getting, and it was just like who could do the weirdest or wonderful thing. And I think the Germans. I think it was. I can't remember the Germans. Daniel Reckward and some other guys drove in with a car through the marquee right up to the bar and ordered a beer, so they got some points for that. Then one of the English guys, I think it was Ian Oddie's mechanic, come in just totally stark naked with a GB sticker, you know, that you stick on the back of your car to country you're from. Tuck his arse, ordered a pint, and then run back out again. It was just crazy stuff like that. But yeah, it's good fun.
RC guys going crazy at Worlds. I like it. Yeah. I like it. This was Monzi's second win. Still the only person to win it twice.
Yeah, Manezi. Yeah,
Manezi. See, I said it wrong. I said Monzi.
So and his third place was Gennari, who was his young protege.
Yeah,
where the Italians seem to take an older driver, and then they have a younger driver who's experienced a bit like they do now, and still do a little bit of it now.
Yes.
So it's pretty cool. You know, you had Very with Ongaro bringing him up and showing him, because Very was always driving and great experience. You know, I think he's probably been around as long as me.
I would say so. Very lives for RC. Malgus, if Very didn't have RC, he would have nothing. So
yeah, and he loves it. He's totally passionate.
Yes, he is.
And then we had Lawrence Harris finished third with Kyosho, so that was our best English achievement in the Worlds ever.
Really? So far. Up to this date, yeah? Interesting.
For English so far, yeah. So after that,
back to England though. After this,
yeah.
Well, England, I should say.
Yeah, 96. We had the UK one again. Awesome drivers banquet. Another fresh virgin grass, flat grass. So we had some wooden jumps this time, like tabletop jumps, and because there was nothing natural to make it out of. It was at a historic car museum.
So this was out on the lawn of the museum?
Yeah, the back, yeah.
So you had to build everything, like the rostrum, everything.
Yeah, everything, all the rostrum was built. And then we had marquees for the food. So all the catering had to be brought in. And then we had marquees with all the tables, because you all sit on your country's tables as well. Like they still do now, but a lot of them have their containers now, so it's all mixed up. Everyone was all sitting together.
So was this like, would you say like hopes were high for the UK team at this point? Yeah, at home. You guys had some fast guys at this time as well.
Jamie Booth this time.
Yeah.
Good mate this time. So guys tried looking after him, because he was riding the 1/10 and then just doing the odd nitro as well. So yeah, he come and me and my wife pitted for him in the final. And we always remember that Mark Pavidas come in for fuel in the final in front of us, and we went out in front of him, and he always remembers that as well. That's Mark driving Mugen again.
So I have to ask, these grass tracks, they can't stay grass for long, right? They have to.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you have started out like? Did you have specific grass tires and then graduate to like dirt tires, or how did it work?
Yeah, we were using like Medial Pro then, so it was like the Kyosho tire, which was a BSW 40, which is just like a normal pin tire, but the Turbo Rat was the popular, and so you had green, which was soft, pink, which was I think it was either super soft or medium, or blue was medium as well. So you had the pink, and then obviously the insert, you could have a pink foam insert, which was taped around. Like it wasn't a round piece like a donut. It was just like a band,
a strip. Yeah.
Strip. That's it, and you stick that round.
I remember those type of firms too.
Yeah. So the Turbo Rat was the ultimate tire for the grass when the grass was on it. Also, there was I think it was Iboa or someone like that, come out with what was called a step pin tire, which was like a pin. It had a smaller pin on top of it, so that was awesome in the grass as well, especially in the wet. And when it was wet, that was awesome. But yeah, the Turbo Rat was the most favourable because it worked on the grass and it worked on the dirt that had been eaten through by the tyres ripping it up. And then after that, if it was like started getting hard packed underneath, then you'd go to like a Medial Pro Pulsar tyre, which is like a chevron, like a bar knobbly. Quite a big knobbly.
I think I remember the Turbo Rat.
Yeah,
I remember that.
That was awesome.
So Kyosho picks up win number 3 here. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
that was with another young Italian, unknown to everyone.
What was making the Italians so good at this time? They've always been good, but what was making them a step above everybody?
I just think they just. Again, they were used to racing on any style of track. They were racing on similar tracks to us as well as the clay tracks.
Okay. Alex LaFranchi. He's on. Yeah. So.
And he wasn't sponsored by anyone, I don't think. I think maybe his engines. I can't remember what engine he was using.
Pico, according to Wikipedia.
Pico. Yeah.
So
and he unknown, and he had it was like massive toe out. Camber was crazy, positive and negative camber he had on the car. Totally slammed to the ground, and he was just going around. He was just killing everyone. He was an awesome driver.
The European guys always had some crazy. You would always have some guy with some crazy setups. I always used to hear that.
Yeah.
Like Paul Coleman told me, who was it? Was it one of the guys? Oh, he was running 125,000 in his rear diff all the time. And I was like, what? Maybe he was running like 1,000, crazy. Always had some crazy off the wall setups that work for him.
It's funny you say that because when the Turbo Inferno come out, this is when we first discovered that you actually use silicone oil in the dips, with all the grades. We were using different thicknesses of grease or arrow diet and stuff like that.
Really?
Thickness, yeah. And the Japanese goes, oh yeah, we use this oil, no problem at all.
You guys didn't even know that.
Yeah, we got just packing it with grease and that, and understand. It's just like, there you go, the internet information wasn't there, it was like instruction manual, but it was telling you to put grease in or oil.
Right, you wouldn't know that either. You would have to learn that. You wouldn't learn that till you actually got to the track.
So yeah, we didn't pick that up, but it was quite good because we used to have like big team meetings with all of that. While the Worlds was going on, we'd have all the team drivers would meet in a hotel room, not a room, but a function room.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be like 75 Kyosho drivers there. That's what it was like in the Worlds, and we'd all be talking about what we liked and what we didn't like, and obviously the Japanese didn't like hearing what they didn't like, what we didn't like.
It seems so simple now, but yeah, I guess you wouldn't know that information without just actually being there.
We were talking about different information and oils and stuff like that, different pistons, and the Germans were always trying to redesign the car to make it like a Volkswagen instead of a Japanese car. Like that. It's quite interesting. They come out there designing new wishbones themselves, and it's like totally against the way Kanai works. Everything on the car has to be Kyosho. You can't use anything non-Kyosho on it unless you're going to. This is the only time you'll. If you do it and you win, and I think Mark Pavidis has proved that because he used the Ferroni chassis and the big Ferroni shocks. And they said to him, you can use it, but you have to win. If you don't win, you're finished.
It was no joke back then, man. No joke.
No, you're under contract. And you're a contracted Kyosho driver, and that's it. And the rules are strict. Even to painting your body, the windows have to be how Kanai did the windows. You can't miss off the back window. It has to look like the kit on the box.
But that little attention to detail was why they were so dominant.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
Why they were so dominant. All right. We're gonna move to 1998. So we're getting up to the years that I kind of started. Well, 98 I didn't, but starting in 2000 I kind of followed it.
I found a souvenir from Sweden. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, that's a 2000. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. That's the 1998 World Champ. Oh, sorry. It's the World Championships. Yeah, Sweden. 2004.
Yeah, that was 2004. That's nice.
Yeah.
Was that a trophy or just like a...
Everyone got that.
Really?
Booked in.
That's nice.
Everyone that participated got that, and I thought it was really nice at the track. And if you can see that design, they got that idea from the Austrian track, where we were saying about the W up the hill. So they created that hill and did that design because they thought it was pretty cool.
It's still there too. Still like that to this day.
Yeah.
To this day. So 1998 ends the Italian dominance, and then we see the first and only so far German, Daniel Reckert, take the win with Kyosho, giving Kyosho their fourth win in Portugal. Yeah. First Worlds in Portugal. Yeah. First Worlds in Portugal.
And that track, we went there in 93, the European Championship. In Cumbria.
Oh yeah,
that was it.
Was it up high?
Yeah,
because Cumbria is like
middle of Portugal, isn't it? So you can either go into Porto or Lisbon and drive up from there. So it wasn't too bad. It's pretty cool, straight freeway in Portugal. No speed limits.
What about this track? What do you remember from this this track?
Well, the track was supposed to be somewhere else, but they couldn't get permission or something. It was going to be on there because they had like a Olympic athletics track right next door to it, and it was going to be built there. But so we were quite surprised that it was that track again. So it was quite a small facility, but they did really well in putting it on. And this is where we saw the young Mateus for the first time.
Miguel, another legend.
Yeah. And he was crazy fast with an OS, but he had it so lean that I think he burnt about 3 engines out. He was killing bugs, everything. And I couldn't believe it. And I knew he wasn't going to last. It's such a shame because he's an awesome driver. He still is now. He proved it at this Euros.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the quarters, like at the World.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised. Or
his style of track. Yeah.
Matthias, he's like, I think most people have him on, like, I think him and Yannick go down as two guys that should have probably won a Worlds, but never did.
Yeah.
So, Rackwood, first German, only German. I don't think we've really seen a German since him of that. Maybe Jorn was a little bit, he was good. The Killex, even though they're from Turkey, they represent Germany as well. But Rackwood was the I haven't really heard of any really fast Germans since him in 8 scale.
And he used the RB engines, and he had them dialed, and he had a good mechanic, his brother Matthias, so he could trust him in whatever he did. So he knew that he had someone there that was for him. And that was it. So that's what made them a great team, very strong team in Europe and in the world. So but he had a great battle. He didn't get it all his own way. He had Lechat.
Yeah, Felipe Lechat.
His dad was it's crazy, isn't it? On-road designer. His dad was the on-road designer for the road 5th scale, and he used to do the rally art one as well. The GT cars.
Really?
So and he was using it well. So Lechat, and it was like a crazy looking car. It went against everything else. It was like a speedmobile. I mean, like one of the body. The only way you could describe it is like the salt flats sort of design. Great big body and wing.
Was rules still lax at this time? Like you could get away with a lot more stuff, or was it a lot of rules at the time?
No, the rules were still there within reason. Wing sizes. The body. If you really look at rallycross rules, the body you can have. You can have the bodywork over the wheels if you want. That's what they were looking for, because it is rallycross.
Okay,
it's not like buggy really.
Right. But you don't see people going so far outside of the box anymore.
No,
not at all. So
that was different. Obviously it had inboard suspension as well on the Leroy car. Different, not with the shocks laid up. It was laid down with inside and that. So it's pretty cool. The suspension was very good on the car. And so this track in Portugal had a first bit of multi-surface as well that I noticed at the Worlds as well. The had a tarmac section in it with whoops and rollers as well.
Nice, but small. The track was small. You said the facility was small.
Yeah, the facility was small. Track was small because it was right in the town, right in the middle of the town.
Really?
There's an Olympic track, So basically, you went over a river, and it was sort of a triangle cutout, and had some parking in there as well. But they did well. It was good enough for the Worlds anyway. The track was good, really.
Yeah,
First time I see Degani as well. I can't remember.
Yeah, that was his first Worlds. He finished like way down, and he was driving Laru. He finished way down in there.
That's it, Leroy. Yeah, I beat him there as well.
He didn't tell me that part.
That's my best qualification in the Worlds. Saxton beat me by 1 point for the semi-final. To make the semi-final then, you had to be in the top 15, I think it was. Because TQ automatically went into the final then. It wasn't straightforward direct in. It was TQ went into the final, which I thought was pretty cool. Because I think you should.
I think you should too.
For achievement then.
I think you should too.
They changed the rules after that and followed what the Europeans did as well, which is a shame. So, LaFranchi TQ'd it and got in. And Saxton beat me by 1 point. So I was in the quarterfinals instead of the semi-final. So I was gutted about that.
Yeah, but that's not too bad, because then this is like when Saxton kind of became the king of our offer. You know what I mean? Yeah. I would say after this. Yeah. And he went on a tier.
I remember him racing just trucks when we used to go to Hemet.
Yeah.
Racing RC10 out.
Well, that's what the Americans at this time, that was still the... if you talk to Greg, he'd be like, 8 scale was second and trucks was still king for us.
Yeah. It's like Nitro 1/10 scale truck with slipper clutch, stuff like that. Yeah, so.
But I think that started to switch. I think that started to switch in 2000, because that's where we go to now, the first Worlds in America. So Degani tells me that Saxton spent over $90,000 putting on this Worlds back then, which would be about $150,000 right now.
Yeah, he had good sponsorship because Richard was in the know with people. He was a nice guy, so he could, took the leg off the donkey, really. Sell his mum for whatever he needed, so it's pretty good. So we went there and we've never seen such a high rostrum.
I heard that. I heard it was very scary.
Oh, mate. And he had so many sponsorship banners from all the sponsorship that he got. I thought he was going to blow down at one time. It was because it was really windy. You know what Vegas can be like?
Yes.
And just get up. And it was like dust storms and everything like that. And I thought, when me and Jamie Boo, I remember we got halfway up. And when I get nervous, I start like laughing or messing around to overcome the fear because I'm not good with heights as well. But Jamie Booth was like crawling on all fours, getting scared by this time. And plus the wind was blowing it about. So I started bouncing up and down, it's like them fibre things in the stairs. And he's going, don't, and he's hanging on. And it's like, when I got up to the rostrum, where you hold on the rostrum and you think, I don't want to let go. It's like being on a fair ride, you think you can't hold on anymore. It's a crazy feeling. So I can't believe. And there was the biggest set of doubles. They look small now, but to us, these doubles are massive. and you must see that. So,
this stand was like 3 stories high, I was told.
Yeah, the rostrum was. Yeah. So it's crazy when you're looking down. The pitman you could just see their heads, and that's it really.
Wow.
It's crazy.
This this was they went big. I just remember everybody saying the same thing about that. Matthias was fast at this race too, I believe.
Yeah.
And
everyone was fast. Pravidis was fast. Everyone was fast. Yeah.
But Kanai got his win. Finally got his win.
And he qualified. I think he was in the quarters. He even got. I can remember him getting a stop and go.
Really?
In the quarters. Yeah. And he still got through. And I couldn't believe it. I can't remember the number on his car, but I don't think he was in the top 6 to start off with. But the 2 massive double jumps in the end where people were jumping one of them, I think, and then just rolling the other 2. That took its toll. If you got it wrong, Quartz broke his car there, Matthias broke his car there. Pravidis made the final, but he had O'Donnell head again, and it was hot, and he was only making 5 minutes. Had to run the engine so rich to keep it going. So he was only doing 5-minute fuel stops, and he had engine cuts again, which was a shame.
Yeah, and I think this was another lots of Kyoshos in this main.
I think the final, the most we had. I think it was in the final. I think Germany was 6 we had in there then.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So the party must have been on in Vegas. Kanai wins. Yeah. Oh, it must have been. I didn't even know. I didn't even want to know what type of shenanigans you guys got up to in Vegas.
Best trophy presentation of all with Barry Baker. He's an awesome commentator. So he was doing and everyone was buying him shots. And I remember my friend Tim Long, who works at Mugen, and he bought Barry about 5 shots, and he just come down while the presentation was on. It was all just like off the hip. It was pretty cool. It wasn't all planned out like it is now. And unfortunately, you have to pay to go for a ticket to go to the trophy presentation now, where everything was all included then in your entry fee, which is such a shame because it just puts people off from going when they've got to pay for a ticket for the driver gets one free, but your mechanic you have to pay for, and then if you're with your family and that, you imagine it's sort of like $80 to get into something like that each. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's not cheap.
When it should be all included. I think that as you look at that, that presentation is important. If you win the World Championships, if you win, you'd pay for all your family to come and watch you get a World Championship trophy. But if you finished in the top 20, you probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
I haven't been to a lot of presentations because we just didn't bother because there was a fee. And that's my sort of protest against it. It should be all included, or do the presentation at the track.
Look, I mean, the world's entry is like $500.
Yeah.
Wow. So, at least, and I'm pretty sure that the track actually has to put on the Banquet. I'm pretty sure they do.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure IFMAR doesn't put anything into it.
No.
So they should.
Yeah,
IFMAR
yeah.
should give some of the money that they make off the entry and then do a Banquet for free. In my opinion.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
So that was, like I said, it was the best one. And Barry Baker, by the time he was announcing the winner, he was like paralytic, and he passed out afterwards, and they had to carry him off. And he can't remember the next day.
Oh man, Barry hasn't messaged me for a while. I haven't pissed him off about Fen recently, so he hasn't messaged me for a while. It's unfortunately he won't be coming to Spain. He was planning on coming, but he can't get off time off work. So it would be good. All right. So that was also for people that don't understand. The 2002 Worlds was held in Las Vegas in the parking lot of the Silverton Hotel. So
which is just above where we were for the Worlds in 2016 in Vegas, isn't it? So just
Really?
around the corner.
yeah,
So I had a look at Silverton. Yeah,
I could imagine how scary it was. Because look, when I was at Silver State this past May, the wind whipping through outside there was crazy. Imagine being that high up on a scaffolding in 2000 with a whole bunch of banners on it, like a big sail. Crazy. But Kanai gets his win. That was
good because we were in the hotel, in the Silverton Hotel. You just walk out past the pool straight into the pits, and there's a good video by Gene Huston from Associated. He did a video of it, so you have to look for that as well. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have to find it on YouTube. I think I remember watching this Worlds. We had somebody had a CD or DVD of it, and we watched it. And this is around the time, I think, 2000 was kind of when I was getting into 8 scale, so I started to pay attention. But it still was just magazines coverage, or somebody that went there. But now
this is when I noticed that it was more team-based orientated as well, like in Kyosho, and then it was Tebow's first Worlds. I think he was 13 then. I can't remember what was the car. Everyone,
Thunder Tiger.
Thunder Tiger, that's it.
He was running Thunder Tiger at that time.
Thunder Tiger, Steve Dunn, and that were using it. Everyone was using a Thunder Tiger then.
Well, this is also when America was starting to emerge really as a superpower in 8 scale racing. There had always been one in 10 scale racing, but now this is like, I call this the attitude era of RC. Like Ghani, Quartz, all these guys.
They nearly used their entry allocation up with 50 this time. I think they nearly made it.
But they don't even have 50 no more. I think it's 30, no? 30?
Yeah, it down, which is fair enough, isn't it, now? So, that's not too bad for that, because that includes Canada as well, I think, isn't it? And that side of it, because it's got regions, isn't it? Because obviously we get a European quota, and they have to divide it by that. So
right, because the UK only gets like how many spots?
4 or 3 places if we're lucky.
Yeah, that's not enough.
No, and after that they decide, they share it out again. It goes round and it gets split offered from country to country. So whoever gets the next spot, then it gets offered a round again in that order, missing out. So if the UK had it, and it goes to everyone else. If no one else wants to take it, you get another option to take it, and that's how it works.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because they have to split up that same amount of entries, amongst so many different countries in Europe. So, and there's so many countries that have good drivers, but there are some that are better than the others. So maybe, I get it. All right, I know what we're getting into the 2002. This was the first American win by the most.
Vegas was the popular for America to win. That's when they thought America were going to dominate, which they did in some respect. But
I don't even think Saxton made the main.
I don't think he did. No.
Yeah, and he was he was the guy at this point.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
He has no luck at Worlds. No luck. Zero.
No.
Speaking of luck, because we're going to talk about what happens in his next race. Punta del Este, Uruguay.
Yeah, Uruguay is awesome.
We cannot get video. Like, I have been searching and searching and searching. Like, Greg's had been asking me for years, find somebody who's got video. He's looking for this guy. He thinks somebody who has. It's unfortunate we don't have any real video of this race.
I've got some video of it, but it's on my old recorder that doesn't work anymore. So I'm looking for if I have a Sony, a Sony high 8, or not a high 8, but an 8mm player, I've got loads of footage of all of the worlds from that era. Vegas, everything. And I can't, it's all locked in on these little cassettes.
Yeah.
Such a shame.
Unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
I can't get one. Every time the price is crazy. They want something like 300 quid for it.
Yeah, that's too much
going
money.
up for it. Yeah.
Too much money. Going into this race, America was definitely riding. Definitely, like, it was no more. To be honest, I can't even. Matthias was the only European that was probably really on the American level at that time. If I think about it,
and Reckwad still there.
Reckwad was still in the mix.
Yeah.
Where was Yannick and those guys? Not nowhere around at that time.
Yeah, just about. Yeah.
But this was
undecided then, I think.
I think everybody thought like that. The Americans that would win this would be like Chad Bradley, Richard Saxton, Pavitas, Quartz.
Yeah.
And this gets Greg upset because I wrote a blog and he goes, he tells me how much he practiced and planned and put into winning this Worlds, and he thinks that he doesn't get enough credit for that sometimes.
He went to the warm-up race and he was okay. I thought Chad was better than him, at the way. I thought Chad was hot favourite, to be honest with you. It was our main competition.
I would say so.
But Chad was the one that was looking as though he was going to do anything for Mugen, at that time.
Broke his pipe. Weirdest thing ever.
Yeah. It's a stupid thing. Same as Pavitas. Pavitas went out in the semi-final, ball joint popped off. This thing.
No LCQs back then, right?
No. And it just popped off. And that was it. It cost him a lap, and this is where the engines were more reliable now, more effort into everything, team-based. This is where we were getting containers with people with looking after the engines. We had tyre containers like Proline, all that lot coming in. So
you know what Greg said? He said he went on there a month prior to the Worlds with Bradley in practice as well for a week. And
I don't think he just went for the practice, did he? Up the road. Tim Long calls Jerusalem. It was crazy place.
But I mean, it's Greg. Greg loves to travel, and he enjoys when he travels. But yeah, definitely.
He budget Kyosho, didn't he? Then a super budget,
Yeah, he wasn't even. I don't think he was even on like the 8. He was on the A team in America, but not like.
So he was all right then. He was on a good budget. He wouldn't have gone otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah. Greg in his own money going out a race.
He said he did use his own money to go on the second time.
Yeah.
He said he told me something because he's been calling me every day because he's super excited about the Worlds coming up. So he told me a story that he said, did I ever tell you this story? I was like, no. He goes, so I did this thing to Yuchi Kanai for a whole year prior to the Worlds. And he says he went to Yuchi Kanai and said, you have 1 year left as world champion. And he says right up until the final, when I got up on the stage on the final, I said, you have 1 hour left as world champion. And he said, I said this in front of everybody. And he says he totally mind screwed Kanai.
Yeah, even at Kyosho Masters. And Kanai was so prepped up for this. He had spare gearboxes, everything. Every time from his bump up final, it was like new gearboxes on.
Mm-hmm.
Every time, front and rear, straight on, all built, ready.
Wow.
And that was it. It was amazing the setup he had. And it was something stupid on Kanai, something like the clutch. Some oil got onto the clutch and it was slipping for ages. Took about 5 minutes to clear. A bit like what happened to Runnerfolk in Australia.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. And Saxton forgot to come in for gas twice.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. He had a mechanic that I'd never met before in my life, and he was screaming at him. I felt sorry for the mechanic. And just Richard was in the zone,
That's so
he was
crazy.
racing, but it was Richards. It was Richards. Like he TQ, and he just killed everyone. And his car was so good. He had it all set up in a raft with shoe gear and everything. He loved the shoe gear one. That's what I remember of Richard when he made stuff. chewing gum and just putting a shoe glue on the nuts. And, yeah, loved it.
Yeah, guys used to people laugh, but I remember seeing like guys the cars coming off after big wins, and they would have everything like the needle would have the high speed needle would be completely sealed, so it couldn't get. Oh, I was crazy. They went through so much stuff back then to do this. But yeah, Greg Degani gives Kyosho, that would be Kyosho's 6.
Yeah.
6 wins from a very unexpected Greg Degani. But he says he always reminds me, I qualified second overall. I said, okay, well, where did you start? Because I started like 4th or 5th, I think, in the main, but I did qualify second overall. So I still was faster.
Yeah, but like we say, you've got to be in it to win it.
Yep.
He did all that stuff. He had a good mechanic, Reagan LeBlanc. Yeah. So we don't see a lot of him no more. He's still friends with me on Facebook and that.
He's been commenting on a lot of my posts lately.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah,
so
I think he's reminiscing a little bit.
Yeah, Greg owes Reagan a lot because he was thorough with the fuel stops, everything. He was fine tooth over with the mechanical side of it as well. So, and I learned a lot from him as well, watching him, what he does. So,
yeah, Greg almost blinded him.
Yeah, probably.
Before throwing a tire at him. Crazy. It was definitely the attitude era of RC. These guys were rough.
Fun.
Yeah. They were rough. They were racing hard. They were playing hard off the track. If they liked you, they liked you. If they didn't like you, it was going to be rough. If they liked you, it was going to be rough. If they didn't like you, it was going to be even more rough. So it was definitely a very. I remember Tebow talking about how they kind of hazed him like he was so young, and how like all them guys used to treat him so bad back in the day. But I was like, well, that's just crazy times.
He had a broken foot as well. He was a motocross accident. I think the footrest went through his foot. So when he was on the plane, he said that his foot got twice as big because he'd only just had an operation or something like that on his foot.
Wow.
So it was Billy Easton, and they were running Thunder Tiger still then. So yeah.
So Billy Easton at the 10 scale nationals here a few weeks ago. First time I've seen him in years. Yeah.
I haven't seen him for a long time.
Still looks the same. Like he hasn't aged.
Yeah.
Hasn't aged one bit. Nice. All right. 2004. So we showed this track earlier. It was in Sweden. This is, I would think, like 8 scale was the most. I think in 2004, like 10 scale was very much on the decline. 8 scale was king. 10 scale truck was on the decline too. Truggy was starting to rear its head. We go to Sweden, to Fureland, which is Jessica Paulson's home track. Her dad, Michael Paulson. He was fast too. He was a favorite to do well at this race. This track was very difficult. I remember because now we had starting grid. So now we had, there we go.
You see the track.
Yeah.
And it was really one of the most, I think it was permanent facilities you could get.
Still the same.
Still there now.
Still the same as it is now. Might have changed a little bit.
A lot of different
coverage was different this time. So we had internet and we had the starting grid going. So we was able to see things a little bit more in okay, it might have been a day later or a couple of days later, but we was able to see it. It's better than in 3 months. I was actually in England during this race. I was up in Teesside and I was trying to get over to Sweden for the weekend just to come watch. I was cool with Paul Coleman and he was like, just come over, you have a place to stay. But I never made it. But I remember the big buzz was rocks.
Yeah.
Was the big issue here. It was like some small little pebbles and it was jamming people's flywheels and getting in people's gears. And I remember everybody trying to make some protective Lexan shields.
Trouble is it held it. But the best thing we found afterwards, it's always afterwards, is like foam, like a dense foam. And you just put it in there and it stops it from there, but it won't hold it in, it'll bounce it out.
Really?
So it fills the space up, That's what we found to stop the rocks getting there. So
Quartz, I think this is one of Quartz's races that he was really, like, I think Quartz was at his peak at this time. I heard he almost, Greg says he almost beat up, got in a fight with Jessica Paulson's dad at this race too.
Yeah. And that was at the warm up. And then, I think it was Mikkel's mum tried to ban courts from coming to the World Championship facility, but I think IFMAR overruled it.
Oh my gosh, so crazy.
So yeah, it was funny. Yeah.
Yannick Igon was the fast guy here.
Yeah, and for some reason, the story goes his dad recut all the new fuel lines and just made it a little bit longer, and he got thrown out, which is a great shame.
Half a cc, I'm told. Half a cc.
Yeah, rules are rules, but I still think the rule needs to be changed. Talking about tanks, when you come off the track, your tank is blown up with all the hot air in it. It's oversized. So when it actually gets scrutineered, if it's oversized, it's oversized because it was on the track oversized. So
right.
It's bullshit about leaving it 10 minutes, taking it out of the car to cool it down, and then you test it. Yeah, it's gone back to a legal size then, but it wasn't legal when it was going around the track. So they need to cut all that bullshit. It should go in order as well. So number 1 should get checked first, number 2 second, number 3 in that order, because you won, you're in scrutineering first, and that's it.
Well, I think that's how they did it in 2021 at the Nationals, and I think that's why Cole and Ty were DQ'd, because they were the 1 and 2, I think, or first and first.
That's the rules, and that's how it should be. And I think where you have the facility to put an extra piece in that's screwed in the tank, that should be illegal as well.
So tanks should be
that. Yeah, tanks should be tanks, and not have a insert you can put in or out and screwed in.
I know what you mean.
Could be, yeah, it should be. The tank's got to be that size, even whether it's hot or cold, and that's it.
So you're saying make an actual smaller tank to make up for, I know the JQ car had like a 123cc tank.
Yeah, or you can do the tech before, and it's all fair. But with the before tech, the mechanic can change stuff. He can change the camber while he's in the pit lane before you start. He can do a lot of things, So I think that after tech is the best way.
I'm pretty sure we're going to see some fuel drama next weekend. I'm pretty sure.
We'll do because of the heat.
Yep.
So,
yep. Yeah. All right. Anything else? So yeah, he and Yannick was he was. If Quartz was America, Yannick was Europe at this point. He was really fast. I think he was driving Habao, I want to say, maybe at this time, was he? What was Yannick driving at this time?
I think it was a chrono.
Oh, okay. All right.
Either a chrono or a Yannick won the European Championship with a chrono there.
Okay.
So I think next year, this is when he was racing Thunder Tiger. I think he got involved with Thunder Tiger.
Ah, okay.
Thunder Tiger engines as well. He's trying to get them developed with his dad and his brother.
But then it was no name Guillermin Ray. Where did he come from? Never heard of him before this.
Yeah, him and Jerome. I still can't believe they're twin brothers. Born on the same day, not identical. And they look totally different, don't they? Really, it's only the eyes that look the same.
Was he ever a threat? Was he fast in Europe at this time?
Yeah, super fast. It's always the engines let him down.
Really?
Yeah.
So he brings Mugen their second win out of this and breaks the dominance that Kyosho had exhibited at this time.
This is Gillian Veray who won it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a funny story with Gillian Veray. He said, I want to leave Kyosho, and he left. But it was the most dramatic I've ever seen.
Really? What happened? Was he really upset at Kyosho?
Oh no, not about that. He just left and said, I wanna use Mugen, and that was it. So obviously it upset Kyosho that he went to Mugen. It's obviously a Japanese company. But the final was so dramatic because Matthias was leading, 2 laps in, engine stops, Stone hit the flywheel. Providus, same thing. I think he had an engine issue where the Stone got in and stopped it. Then the Spanish guy,
Vega,
yeah.
But was Guillermin fast in that time? Was he still was he a threat at Euros and stuff like that? The Vray.
Not really.
Yeah.
I think it not like Degani, because Degani was showing himself in America as well. But Gillian was really, he's made some European Championship finals, but before then he wasn't really showing anything, and that's why I think Kyosho let him go. To be honest with you,
right? Maybe he was maybe he had a chip on his shoulder, but
I always call it new car syndrome. When everyone leaves from and gets a new car, they always win with it at club level or world level or European level. They do something good with it, the first year. And then after that, they start trying to reinvent everything and work harder or over-concentrate on stuff and don't do as well. So
yeah, because I don't remember ever seeing his name much after this.
No, not before or afterwards, to be honest with you. Because I remember in 2003 when Matthias won at Slough, when I was at the warm-up with him, I know I was on one of my home tracks, but I was battling with him all the way through. And I was coming to the end of my sort of driving ability. So yeah, it was a surprise because it was Danny Vega was leading it for about 20 minutes of the meeting, and then his steering servo just blew up, just stopped. So I couldn't believe that. So Miguel was coming up, and he ended up coming second. Quartz, I think he had an engine cut or tyre come off. I know there's a famous picture on Neo of his tyres.
I think it was tyres coming off.
One of the qualifiers as well. And I remember Regan shouting up to him, "Good job, the only job you had to do was glue your tyres."
Oh my gosh. Quartz was amazing driver though. Amazing driver Quartz was.
Yeah, so he was, I think Quartz got third in the end. So yeah, even with some tyres coming off and had to swap it over. And Gillian Veray won it. I think it was 10 minutes to go and he got the lead and stayed there. And that was it. There's so many failures. Everyone else was sort of like a lap down, and then in the end.
Yeah.
The front where they'd had failures.
Second Frenchman to win it. First one was French in 1986 was Frederic Vissari, and then Vray. Interesting stuff. And there's been lots of fast French drivers. I mean, Renault probably at his peak could have won this race, I think. And interesting stuff. All right. 2006, the Worlds that a lot of people didn't go to that they should have. Greg always says that this was probably the one Worlds that he thought that Tebow should have won, could have won, should have won, and would have won if he had went, but he didn't go. Yeah. So it was in Indonesia, Jakarta, Indonesia. There was some security, like bulletin boards about not going there. It was like a security risk or something.
Yeah, it was a red alert, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sort of like,
and then a lot of the American racers, like no Cavaliers, no Mayfields. I don't think Mayfield went, but a lot of those guys didn't go. But you guys did. You was there. Pavitas was there. Degani was there.
Yeah.
Once again, I was told that this facility was excellent.
Yeah.
The hotel was excellent. Like, it was a lot of fun, and that you guys felt secure the entire time he was there.
Probably it was like being in. It was like a Disneyland sort of place, like an amusement park. Or like you can walk around all of that style and that. A hotel complex within that with a lovely swimming pool and everything. I can remember Yannick and Savoya messing around, and I could see it from my hotel room. Yannick threw a tyre at him, like a Proline tyre or a medial pro tyre, and it smashed Renault in the eye, and he said he couldn't see for the whole World Championship properly out of one eye. So he did the whole World Championship with like 20.
It must be something with RC drivers and throwing tires and hitting people in the head, face with eyes, because that's what Greg done to Regan LeBanc.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah.
Crazy.
And Yannick again got unlucky in that final where the Marshall touched the flywheel.
Flamed him out. He was leading, like a good lead.
Yeah.
Then Greg says, I would have won my second Worlds, but my crappy Hobayo Spurger broke.
Well, that's what he gets for going to a high bar.
Yeah, he went to Hobayo. He goes, I was the highest paid RC driver at that point.
Yeah, but I'd much rather be world champion again, and he could have been world champion again if he was driving the car show.
Probably, that's what, yeah. or he says if he, because that diff, he always reminds me that diff had it was the 8.5, and it was the stupidest thing ever. It screwed onto the diff cup.
Yeah.
It was so stupid. I had that car too. But then Scott Hughes took over the lead, and he swears Don to this day that Scott Hughes made a deal with Pavidis because he said, "I've never seen somebody blow out so bad."
Do you know what? Do you know what happened? Well, Pavidis went off the side of the track. And
Right.
He lost his car the first lap, and he was on form all weekend. And because I was pitting for him with Cube and Sharp, and so when they were battling together, they were crashing together. It was crazy, not into each other, but they just because one crash. You know what it's like when one car crashes in front of you. You go, I think I've got a chance here, and you go offline and just lapse concentration. You crash or go wide at the same place, don't you? And that's what happened. And I shouted up to Mark, this was in the last 10 minutes of the race or something like that, or the last 15 minutes. I goes, take it easy, Mark, you're doing okay. And he'd come in for fuel. And it was lucky, it was like 2 laps before he was due to come in, and I had the gun loaded. So it was so lucky, and he come straight in, because it was just after where they both crashed. Just after, so he come in, we filled him up, and we thought, we've got 8 minutes to go, yeah, that was it. Do you think he could do 8 minutes? Because we were just doing 7:30 stops. And it was like maybe 8.5 minutes, something like that. So I kept shouting up to Mark, take it easy on the gas. And Scott said if he knew that Mark was struggling, he would have put more pressure on. So he was just driving the same old, waiting for Mark to make a mistake. Because Mark was taking it easy, he kept in the lead, and that's how close it was. So there was no deal between
I mean, he just always says it. Scott Hughes wasn't even like an 8-scale driver at this point. He was still like a 10-scale guy.
Awesome driver.
Yeah. Pavidis threw the radio down to you. I remember that's one memory you always have. I think you caught the radio.
Yeah, he threw that. And I was scared because I don't know how I caught it, but it's good video of that. Someone's got the video of that as well. And he threw it down and I caught it. And then I started driving the car back. And it still had some fuel in it. I thought, blimey. And then I said, is this illegal? Is someone going to put a protest in because I drove the back to the pit lane? You know, so I just left it.
You never know.
Idly.
You never know.
Crazy. You never know. You could put a protest in. I didn't want to ruin that for that, so I just went right.
Did you ever see any protests in your time up to this point?
Not really. Mm-hmm. Not really. To be honest with you.
I think the only one we've had was 2018 with Angaro.
Yeah, which is a great shame as well.
Yeah, it is.
And I didn't like that. You know, they had someone who was racing. You know, no disrespect to Mike, but he shouldn't have been in there checking the radio over. They should have had the proper official checking that.
They should have. They should have.
And that's what caused a lot of the problem. But I'm glad they never found anything.
Yeah, I'm glad too. I'm glad that put a lot of that whole gyro nonsense to rest.
Yeah, I don't know why that. I know in Italy it's illegal to use it. So if it's legal to use it and people are happy, but I don't think it helps you driving. It helps you driving, but it won't when you've got to race properly at a world championship. You can't use one, so I can't see the point in using them.
He's got a gyro. It's called his brain and his fingers.
Yeah, mate, the guy's got talent. You could see that from a young age. The same as something like Tebow. They always said Tebow at Neo Buggy is like a robot, dead on line, just keep going around, same pace, same lap times all the time. If he made a mistake, it was an unusual mistake or caused by someone else.
Yeah, but for sure.
You could say that he had a gyro built in. It was in his brain as well.
I've watched Angaro enough to know that he's just good. That's it. It's just good.
It's really good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Pavidis wins. That's a good victory for Pavidis. I think you know he becomes like a 10 scale world champion, touring car world champion, I believe, and a world champion. And really, like Pavidis was the creme of the Americans at that point too, I would say, and well deserved for him. Well deserved. All right. Now we kind of go on to 2008, which was which even changed everything because now we could see this. You know, live RC was there. We could watch the race. I remember I actually was raised. This is how the farm too in Charlotte, North Carolina, Lance Nork and them guys built a beautiful facility. I think they built this facility with the plan of actually holding the Worlds. It had like a big jumbotron and all this type of stuff, and it looked really impressive.
Did he own a NASCAR team or something like that?
He used to drive NASCAR. He used to drive NASCAR truck, and he actually did a little bit of Formula 2. What's the one below Formula 1? Formula 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a little bit of that. So Lance and them guys used to do NASCAR. I actually went to this track for RC Pro Series, so I knew it was beautiful, it was big driver stand, everything you needed for a world championship. International Airport, Charlotte. And also for us fans, Live RC was there, and this was the first Live RC coverage that they had done. It was great. We went from waiting for magazines to get results to getting updates through somebody's text messaging somebody from Uruguay in 2002 to 2004. We had a little better coverage. 2006 was good too, because I think, was it Live RC, or at least Ray Wood was there? One of them guys were there.
Yeah, I think it was Live RC was there for the first time. It's the first time I've seen him with the cameras in all the corners, and stuff like that. Pretty cool, yeah, because I was quite surprised. I got a message from someone saying, "Oh, Mike, I could see you out marshalling and stuff like that." It's really quite surprising. Then I see these little cams in the corners and that. Didn't even realise that it was going on. Yeah,
but going into 2008, we also saw a changing of the guard. All these guys that we were talking about, Greg Degani, Quartz, Pavitas, Kanai, all these guys who have been relevant for many years in 8 scale. Then we see Losi drops their new car. Associated's got their car. There's a lot more chassis manufacturers. Comes in the time of Ryan Mayfield, Cavallari, Tebow. Well, Tebow was, these guys are still competing in worlds, but Tebow was probably the most successful out of them in 8 scale.
Yeah, and
up
Tebow
to this point.
He'd gone away, and he was with O'Donnell car then, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He'd gone away for a little while. And, the hot favourites were Mike and Adam Drake.
Yeah.
And Drake had sort of come into it again, didn't he? Because he was like, before that, temp scaler, really, wasn't he? Temp scale, nitro, that, he was just doing that.
Yeah,
really.
He started with 8 scale with Jammin, though.
Yeah.
With Housley. And Jammin was a big team at this time, too. So they had a good squad going there, like Taylor James, who was really good.
That was based off the GS car, wasn't it?
No, off the Hong Noir.
Yeah. Was it Hong Noir? Yeah, but I thought it wasn't General Silicons took it over at that time as well.
I do not know. I think it was still Hong Noir. According to Housley when I interviewed him, it was
probably. Yeah.
But there was a lot of fast Americans. I remember Taylor James was really fast at this race.
Yeah.
And Chad Bradley. Chad Bradley was out of the mix. This was the last main. He didn't make the main.
Yeah.
So this is the last round he didn't make the main.
Yeah.
And Mike Truey was so fast.
Yeah. Yeah, Truey. The car was awesome.
He was the only one that could do that he would come around the corner, like double that little hump, and he was the only one able to do that.
And it's like landing in the middle of the sandpit as well. All the time.
He was so good.
Yeah.
So good. We see a young Ty Tasman, 14 years old, making the main.
Yeah. Yeah, he was like a robot then.
Yeah.
So he was like he was like Tebow, to watch drive. It was like everything was spot on. Yeah.
Good world. A lot of rain first few days of this world.
I think killed a lot of the old favourites. It put them out of suit with that rain and that, and that was the only thing the track didn't compensate for, for the rain, and like I think it was one hose pipe and one wash basin and one airline, so there was massive queues to get your cars clean. So, and it was just like everything was red. The sales in Charlotte must have gone up with all the Wellington boots and wellies that everyone was wearing, fisherman wellies and waders.
That clay gets everywhere.
Oh, mate, yeah.
Everywhere.
It's terrible.
And it died, and it just turns everything red. I remember seeing people that were cutting tires down to like half the size of what they were.
Yeah.
And wheels and tires to try and get through the mud. It was like I believe practice and qualifying was just pure mud. But it ended up being a good world, a good final. Truey was once again fast, but then Atsushi Hara comes in.
Yeah.
On-road racer. Saving fuel, one less fuel stop, and takes it and snatches it from Truey.
Yeah, and again, again, Mayfield was fast, but engine again, there's always engine problems with him.
Yep.
Engine issues all the time. I can't believe it. You know,
crazy.
So,
but definitely a change of the guard. So we're seeing these new guys. Well, not new. They were fast and 10 scale, but these guys are emerging as 8 scale. You know, there's like the creme of the creme. It was a good Worlds. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and that's when I said one day I'm gonna go to one of these. One day I'm gonna go, and we got to actually really see it. So it was a great turning point for RC as well, with the coverage and all that stuff, in my opinion. And handing over the guard, a passing of the guard from that attitude era to what we have now, I would say.
We had the new Kyosho MP9 that just come out.
Really?
And so everyone couldn't adjust to that, and it was only Cody that put it in the final. So Cody was our only hope, and he was young and just gaining experience all the time.
How did it kind of feel coming from? I mean, Kyosho had dominated this for so many years, and then you come, and then 2008 is like, wow, look at all these fast guys out there driving these fast cars.
Yeah, I think that was a time everyone, you know, no disrespect, but all of them caught up with.
I would say so too. I mean, to be honest, you guys, your only competition up to that point had been Mugen, and they had won. They had only won 2 up to this point. Yeah. So, but thus emerged Hotbod's first World Championship, their first which would be called HB Racing now, but that gave them their first World Championship and kind of announced them as, hey, it's not just the Kyosho and Mugen guys, but it's also we guys as well over here. And first of the 3, but once again, OS, great engine, great fuel mileage, wins a Tsuchihara. Was you shocked to see a Sushi win? Yeah, because he just come out of nowhere. Yeah, you know, he was just there, consistently there all the time in the points, you know, results and everything like that. Would you consider him like the last? I mean, there is time, but last great, really, really good Japanese driver. Yeah, I'd say has to be. Yeah. I mean, Matsuka has Narata and the guys have had shown some brilliance, but not like Hara, I would say. But he's awesome in all different levels or classes. Racing money on road 1/8, 1/10, EP on road. You know, he even did a bit of 1/10. I remember him when he come to Basildon in '93. I think he was about 14, 13-year-old then, driving. I think he made the final with Yokomo. Really? No, not the final. Sorry, but it was his first World Championships. He was with Kyosho then. Yeah, it was what's his name? Shin Adachi. Adachi. He was young as well. He was the same age as Hara then, and he was driving Yokomo then, and he made the final at Basildon in 1/10. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, it's quite funny. Yeah, but this starts. I would say this starts the Atushi Hara era because he was really good after this for a few years. Yeah. He then goes on to 2010 where he almost wins. Yeah, 2 in a row with Cody. Great battle with Cody, I'm told. Awesome. Yeah, awesome final. Let's talk about that Pattaya. It goes back to Thailand. Pattaya oil. No, was it oil? Oh, yeah, it was oil track. I never went. That was the only world you never went. Why didn't you end up going to this one? Right, you did tell me. Sorry, I did. Yeah, we had a driver and we sponsored him for 2 years, and then he decided after a lot of money and sponsorship for 2 years, he decided he wasn't going to go. Was you upset not to, like, that broke your record? Yeah, I was pissed off because I wanted to go, and there was even guys trying to hire me to be like their mechanic for other teams, and we couldn't do it. And Cody won, and Kyosho won. That's the other sad thing about it. Yeah. Too bad, because this was a great track and a good battle. I think the thing that Greg tells me was the hardest thing was the actual track barrier, because it was like a fence. Yeah. 1 foot high fence. And he says, if you got too close to it, it'll catch your car and rip your arm off quick. Yeah. So I always remember, because I actually see Cody's winning car when we were in Nuremberg show, and the drive shaft, the front drive shaft was like U-shape.
it was hitting the wishbone. So he must have hit something hard there because it was a brutal track, wasn't it? High grip, gearbox,
banked oval type turn straight away. Yeah, it was wild.
But yeah, I wasn't watching it like live because I think the time difference and that. But I was watching the results, you know. So all I could see was like clicking over each lap. I couldn't see what was happening. You know, it wasn't
Great win for
after
Cody though.
Yeah,
boosted his
awesome,
career to high heights, and
it was brilliant.
Yeah. And then, but this then kind of ends the golden era of Kyosho there. The last win for that, era, and win number 8.
Yeah.
And I think if you would have said in 2010 that would have been Kyosho's last win, I think nobody would have believed that.
No, because they were pretty dominant with obviously Tebow TQing.
Yeah.
And they're team based then. You know, American drivers were quite strong for Kyosho anyway. You know, they've had the best results, haven't they? If you look at the American drivers that have done the worlds, they're all.
Yeah, it was the car you had to drive to do well. It was just simple as that.
Well, we've been with Kyosho up to that, wasn't it? So
yeah. All right. Well, we can't talk about 2010 because you didn't go there, unfortunately. It would have been a great world if you would have been there.
Yeah.
But 12, you go to Argentina. Now this, I was reading this blog because you did this one. You met with Chris Boots, and you.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, you had a great plan going in, like about to avoid customs. I really liked your thought pattern on that. So, tell us a little bit about that, because the warm up race was like an eye opener. You guys got customs charged you arm and a leg, which I'm not surprised because
we didn't go to the warm up.
Okay.
I'm glad we did because of that. So we could see them all. One of my friend Tim Long with Adam Drake, and that was like stuck in customs for 14 hours because they wanted to charge him $2,000 for a box of tires. They were just making the prices up.
But they're just trying to make some money.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah. So I said to Chris, don't take any sports looking bags or OGO bags or anything. He went, okay, no, I'll just get a normal suitcase. But he loves an OGO bag, Chris does, and Elliot. So he loved the nice style and everything like that.
They were in style back then. They were just coming into style.
Yeah. So they just turned up. They just turned up with the 2 OGO bags. Cool. So they put it on the way, overweight. That's going to be £50 excess charge for like 5 kilos being overweight. Because with an OGO bag, you lose 9 kilos with just the OGO bag with nothing in it.
Exactly.
So he's lost all that. So we get through that bit. Then he goes through into the, your security with your hand luggage. And sorry, you can't have that bottle of aftershave, Mr. Boots. We're going to have to throw that away because it's over 100 ml. He said, but yeah, it's half full though. And he said, yeah, but the capacity of the bottle is not what's in it. So, oh my God. He always used to play the card where whatever airline he was using or he'd used in the past, you don't get this problem with Ryanair, you don't get this problem. like the same when he's flying on Ryanair with British Airways or EasyJet. It's always like that. So he get away with that one. He took his iPad out and they felt sorry for him and they let it go under the plane. So he got away with that. So he paid £50 for the extra baggage and then he got away with another £50 surcharge for posting his aftershave back. So he got his bag. So all he was carrying on the plane was his iPad. So anyway, we got through customs and they give you a little sheet of paper, IFMAR did, to fill out what we had to fill out to give to them. But so we just waited until there was just a big queue and you could see inside the customs bit. So we just waited until there was a guy. Both guys were talking to people and trying to rip them off or whatever they were doing to try and make the money. And so he just legged it through. Come on, Chris, quick. Just dropped the sheet of paper on the table and just went through. And they were like calling us back and everything. So Chris is lugging these OGO bags through with Elliot and that was it. So we managed to get through. As soon as we were out of that bit, they couldn't touch us. It was quite funny. And Tim Long did the same thing. Tim Long just gave the guy the paper and he was calling him back and shouting at him and he was just running. And that was it. So we get a taxi to the air. But they said, with Argentina, they said, don't go out of the hotel at night. Don't do anything, just stay in the hotel.
Yeah, so he was in Buenos Aires.
Yeah. And there was, you could see the track. We were staying in this hotel, Holiday Inn. Nice hotel. And yeah, you had a bridge going over the freeway, but it was all caged in. So they said, when you're walking over that bridge, make sure you know someone who's walking behind you and someone's not waiting at the other side, because that's what they do, is they ambush you in the middle and just mug you for your phone or whatever you got on you, and you can't jump over. So you either get stabbed or give them your stuff. So that was quite scary.
Yeah, even Joseph said he didn't enjoy this routes too much because it was kind of a little bit shady, like taxi drivers ripping you off and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, because we got worried when we got in the taxi from the airport, as we were told. But it was only a little journey, and the guy was okay, and we managed to arrange for him to pick us up and take us back. So that was pretty cool.
TQ Boots won. TQ this. Unfortunately, didn't make the final.
Believe it. In their practice and that, Elliot was flying round, and me and Chris looked at each other and I said, "You sure he ain't been here for the warm up?" Because the way he was driving around, he was just killing everyone. And I can even remember Mayfield saying to him after, I think with a crash, he TQ'd by 10 seconds because Mayfield was in the same heat. And he said, he looked at his times and he said, "Are you driving on the same track as us?" It's quite funny. It's quite a compliment from Mayfield.
What was, I would say so too. What was it that clicked for Elliot, you would think, early at this race?
It was just, I don't know. I think it was just the roughness of the track. And just, we went with the setup we always know. Because for that year, I just kept Elliot on the same setup. I just made it. And it was Tebow's Neo setup. We just kept the car the same. So, and even in that heat, we used the same oils that we used in England. And he just knew the car. So all he had to do was learn the track. And this is where a lot of people go wrong.
That actually makes sense.
Because when you go to it, I get probably 20 people asking me, they send me a video of this track. And they say, "I've never been here before. Can you give me a setup for what you think?" And I said, "Well, go with a setup where you last used in your car." And they go, "Why?" I said, "Because you'll know the car, but use the track. You know, you've got to get used to the track. So if you change all the setups to what someone's told you, you don't know whether it's the car or the track. The most important thing is the tyres."
Yeah,
and it always is. Like, you get told, these are the tyres you need, but when you go there, something happens, like it rains or the weather's hotter than normal and the tyres are wearing out quicker. So it's just a gamble with everything, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but that makes sense.
So that's what he did. He stayed on the same setup, and we just stuck with that, and it worked fine. And I checked everything over on the car. We put new servos in before the meeting. And usually we don't change any of the servos. We know that they're going to last for that meeting. Servos are a funny thing, aren't they? They can either go straight away within the first 5 minutes from a brand new one, or they last. So you don't know what you're doing the best. If you put a new one in, it could blow, or you keep the ones that you use for that meeting. So we did that, but I'm sure I can't see the video. There was a video, or I think I was dreaming it, or I might have seen it myself, but I remember him hitting a marshal's foot quite hard in the final. Because when we checked the servo, the servo melted. It melted like a burnt out speed controller when he come in. But I'm sure the pin was bent, and it just made the servo just so stiff. Right. Funny, because everyone was saying, "Oh, you shouldn't use them plastic servo arms," and that's what we were using on it.
But you broke the servo and not the arm.
Yeah, and it was the servo that blew, and they always say it's a servo arm. It's quite crazy, and it wasn't. There was nothing wrong with a servo arm. We never had a servo arm rip.
And no LCQ at all, right?
No. I was just totally gutted. It was such a shame because it was.
Yeah,
I'm sure he would have won it if he was in the final.
Yeah, and this is, even now, I still think that TQ should go right through. I think TQ goes right through and let them have a practice session. Or whatever. Unfortunate for Boots and you guys. Very unfortunate.
Yeah, and like he got the TQ, but it wasn't all of the 5. Obviously, we didn't have all of the 5 qualifiers because I think one of them got cancelled because we had a massive flooding. And it's quite funny because they said, someone told us that if the floods carry on, they'll go on the championship will go on the end, the qualifying result.
Right, so you would have won.
Yeah, and Elliot was going, "No, I don't want to win like that." And I said, "Yeah, that's fair enough, but I'll take it." And I think now he would take it. But what really pissed me off about that event, it was a great event. You know, it was in a dangerous area. I thought for us RC, we had the Kyosho cabin broken into, and all the spares were disappeared. But it's funny, someone at the track knew who it was, and all of that stuff come back, even all the T-shirts and everything. So that was crazy. But
Really?
we went to the drivers' banquet because we thought Elliot was going to get a TQ trophy. Paid for our tickets for me and Chris, like the driver gets free. This is when they started charging and that. We wait, and no TQ trophy. Have you ever known not to be a TQ trophy at the Worlds?
No, not at all. But they forgot this year.
Carlos says it doesn't have to. It doesn't say anything in the rules about a trophy. It's just down to the club. Blah blah blah. And even Robert Battle stood up because he obviously is world champion then, and he stood up and said, "I can't believe that. That's disgusting." And he wasn't happy with Carlos or anything like that. And we just got up and walked out and left. We said, "See ya." We stayed for the rest of the presentation, but once Robert had got his trophy, we applauded him, congratulated him. We just got up and went out. We were disgusted, and it's always left a bad taste in my mouth, especially when we talk about the next world champ or the world championships later on in Vegas.
Yeah. I haven't heard much positive things about this race. Obviously, it was a great race for Robert. He won it. Gave Mugen the third and so far final win. I mean, they still have a chance to win it.
Yeah, when I said Tess was going to be favourite as well, it was quite surprising. Yeah.
But I see now we kind of see the emergence of these fast, at this time, well, Robert was a little older, but these fast, young European racers, the Ronald Fox and, Boots, and these guys that we have now. The first, because at this point, I would say that the Americans were dominating the scene, the RC scene at this time. It kind of switched over. There were fast European guys, but the Americans had endured quite some time of being the guy. You know, you went through the Courts, the Ghani, then Mayfield, Cavallari. All these guys were the top guys at this time. And then comes Robert Battier, Boots, TQing, Ronald Fox making waves. He's won some European championships. And also Ty Tessman was really, really, really good at this time too. Yeah. Really good. And it was unfortunate for Boots. It's hard just to make one of these finals, you know? And I think they need to really revisit this rule, because it's a waste of time being TQ, in my opinion. Yeah. It doesn't make sense going for it if it doesn't really give you anything. No. Well, it gives you a trophy. Maybe it gives you a trophy. Maybe it gives you a trophy. All right, we're gonna go through, because we got 3 more to go. 2014 in Sicily on the concrete track, as they like to say. This was kind of shrouded in a little bit of drama at the beginning with the fuel.
Oh yeah, and it's quite interesting.
Yeah, the guy was trying to make everybody buy the same fuel or something like that.
Yeah, I can remember there's a great big Sprinter, Mercedes Sprinter van. It was just loaded up with all the fuel that he was going to sell. And then Drake had brought his own fuel, as he always does, smuggled it in somehow, or in someone's shampoo bottles or something like that, whatever he does to get it through. He's just paranoid about using his own fuel, so that's what he does. And so he started his engine up in the pits, and like the guy was going mad because you weren't even supposed to bring any nitro fuel in to the facility. And so Drake has just filled his car up. And the guy goes, right, shut their whole thing down. No one can use any fuel apart from what's coming out of this van. So it was a great big standoff. There was Dallas there. There was Carlos. Carlos was like, I think Carlos knew what was happening, but because Carlos, after that had happened, 2 days later, he had to go home for some reason. So he didn't stay for the rest of the World Championship.
Oh, really?
So I don't know what happened there. It was quite interesting.
So what ended up happening? So they basically were just trying to make everybody use the same fuel.
Yeah, and there was like threatening Phil as well. You know, he was broadcasting it all, and he posted some bad pictures up about like this van being laden down, and this is where you get your fuel, you know, being sarcastic. And he was sort of like, he was getting like threats to get beaten up and sent away from the thing. It was really bad. So yeah, when we were scared being in where we were as well, Sicily. We thought we were going to end up with a horse's head next to us.
So what eventually happened? What was did you guys mediate?
I don't know. It was like behind closed doors negotiation with IFMAR and Dallas and that. And Dallas didn't take no shit. So bless him. So I think it's thanks to Dallas that went ahead. I don't think it would have happened otherwise.
Yeah, so Ronafalk was still on Kyosho at this time, right?
Yeah.
Ronafalk.
Yeah, and he in the semi-final he got stuck on a pipe. He was in 4th place in the semi-final, doing okay. Got stuck on a pipe trying to rev it up, trying to get back over, and I think the flywheel just caught the pipe and cut his engine, and that was it.
And Boots did Boots make the main?
Boots, yeah. No, Boots. No. I wasn't mechanicking for him then.
Okay.
But I was pitting for Jerome, Sartell. Jerome.
Okay.
Jerome, because he was driving Kyosho then. And Boots went down the straight, and all of a sudden his car just veered off to one side, and his leg gave way. His leg went to sleep.
His physical leg gave way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was either Cody or someone else, or Mike True. He had to go up there and hold his leg.
Really?
Someone went up there and was holding his leg up. Yeah, but unfortunately he missed the cut off.
Wow.
So
you know who else was fast at this race too? Lee Martin, I believe.
Yeah. Lee Martin was going really well, and then just had a free engine cut.
Yeah.
But it always scares me when everything's working fine with the engine, and then for some reason whoever's doing the engines want to strip the car down and strip the whole engine down and look through it and all that lot. And I think it scares me.
If it's working, it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, change the plug and that's it, and try that in the semi warm up or whatever.
Mayfield, Losi, fast. Yeah. Servo, same thing. Change the servo, goes out.
He was using the servos that
Spectrum.
I think Spectrum, but before that he was sponsored by Hi-Tech, I think, or something like that, because obviously he was using Horizon products. They made him use the Spectrum, so they made him take them out halfway through the qualification, I think, or after that, and they put Spectrum servo. But he smashed into that chicane. He hit it hard. So I don't, to be no disrespect to Spectrum servos, but I don't think any servo would have took what he hit.
That's what I remember about his lead. I was like, why is he just going so fast? Why don't he just back it on a bit?
Yeah, he just goes flat out. I don't know.
He has learned that now, though. He has learned that.
Yeah, because when you watch him at like Silver State, or the dirt, he's so controlled over rough. He's an awesome driver in the rough. You just know you ain't going to beat him. The way he drives is so controlled. He just drives to the pace of what he needs to now.
Yeah. So, Ty Tessman takes his first win for Canada. I think he deserved it. I think he won it. Yeah, he was in good form.
He did his own work. They said he did a lot of testing in car parks because it was on road sort of style. The suspension was absolutely spot on. He was the best handling car for that situation.
Yeah, and this was like when I would say that Ty and Gord were just like unstoppable at this time. Yeah. They made a really good team. HB cars were good.
Yeah, it was good.
They had a great package, and they did really well. So well deserving. All right. Yeah. 2016, third time in America, back to Vegas.
Yeah.
At RC Tracks. The track is still there, I believe, to this day. Maybe not the same world's track, but it's still you still can run on it. Beautiful facility.
Yeah.
Lots of high hopes for this facility. It's closed now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Lots of high hopes for the Americans as well going into this. They thought that they were gonna, and I would have to say that at this point the Americans were definitely the favorites going into this. Ronafalk had kind of made a splash earlier, I think in 2015 by beating Ty in Truggy or something like that. So he was kind of on the cusp. Battier was on great form as well. But to be honest, the Americans just kind of never showed up at this race.
No. Yeah, Tebow.
Yeah, Tebow was fast. Tessman. Tessman's not American.
Yeah, but Tebow was he was good, but he wasn't super fast like Elliott.
Mm-hmm.
And he got it by basically he could do 10-minute fuel stop. He didn't have to stop.
Right.
So he got 2 of his TQs by taking the gamble and lasting the 10 minutes. You know.
They said very Euro style track too.
Yeah, and there was big complaints from Ronnefolk. Got a bit psyched out with the water. You know, they were saying there was too much water put on for his and stuff like that. Well, we had just as much water, I thought, as well. But I think he got psyched out by Gord because Gord's always complaining about everything. So, and this is what messed Tessman's head up as well, because Tessman doesn't like competition in his own team, and he had the young gun.
Oh, well, this was you could see it at the end of this race. The way Tessman was kind of looking at him, I was like, this partnership's over.
Yeah, Ronnefolk was just young gun, wasn't he? Left Kyosho, gone to hot bodies, taking his dad and mechanic with him, you know, and so they were a good team. They always will be. And so, and like Gord and that, don't like competition in their own team, do they? So they start complaining and bitching and stuff like that, as they do, about everything, about most tracks or whatever, whenever they race. So
I think this was the first Worlds they watered, right?
Sorry?
I think this is one of the first Worlds that they actually watered the track.
Yeah, which I don't know why it always seems the Americans have to water tracks for some reason.
I think the excuse was for the dust for the airport. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, to be fair as well, that's fair enough. And plus they tried this other glue stuff, which caused, I even got some rashes on my arms or something where the dust, it was causing people coughing and stuff like that. So it's pretty dangerous. I don't know whatever.
Because I think they had either Silver State or the Nationals, and the track was completely sealed.
We did the Silver State there, and that was what it was sealed up. That's when Spencer Rifkin just killed everyone. The car, but the grip was crazy high. We couldn't drive in it. Yeah. I'm glad that they did left it like loomy and dusty.
I was so shocked when they made that track. I was expecting American style supercross, big crazy jumps. It got super rough, super rough. I remember seeing a picture of like a rut 2 feet deep almost. We had one corner that was like paved. I think that corner caused so much issues going on and off that corner.
Yeah. So we had a good start to it as well. We TQ'd the first 2, absolutely blinding. And then as it got rougher, we struggled. And usually we don't struggle. And it was funny. We were talking to some guy in the bar, you know, a racer from Mugen, just a normal racer that comes out to do the worlds, just have fun, you know, enjoy the atmosphere and everything. And he said, whenever it was rough, we used to find that the Mugen, you know, the engine mount, it was like a square instead of 2 plates for the or engine mount for your blocks to sit on. He said whenever we had that, we had the square one on, we could never drive the car. And me and Chris looked at each other and went ding. Flex. So we swapped back to, because we had that plate on because we had some trouble at the Euros in Redovan with the engine moving about, and when we put that plate, it stopped crunching the gears,
so it gave more flex.
So we put the plates on, the normal plates, to give the car more flex, so it go over the bumps nice and everything like that, and it transformed the car, and we TQ'd the bumpiest round of the last one. So that's what pissed me off as well. We lost TQ by 1 point, or we drew on points, but it went on countback, and because Elliot, I think, had a 5th, so he had 3 TQs and a 5th place, and another one which was, I think, was a 4th or something like that, and Tebow had only 2 TQs and all the rest were seconds, and that's what killed us on the countback. He might have had a 4th and a 2nd.
You know who else got a raw deal at this race? Cavallari. When he on that where they penalized him for Ty Tasman hitting him. I couldn't believe that.
I know. It's crazy.
He had to start, I think he had to start from the back, and then he had to start from pit lane.
Yeah, we should have. To be fair, for that part, he should have. He got penalised. He got a second penalty so that Ty could get in front of him on the starting grid for the final. Yeah. But for the thing, Cav's dad was like the engine cut, and then he run back. Which once the countdown's a lot, you're not allowed to count. Or if the engine cut, he just run back while the starting thing. And the rules are that you can't run back. You know, and you can't have your starter box on the starting grid.
You have to start from the pit lane. But the incident that caused him to start in the back or behind Ty, was completely Ty's fault, in my opinion.
Yeah. Again, it's the power of God, isn't it? Moaning. So.
But Ronafalk wins this. We see Battier doing one of his amazing come from behinds to finish second.
Yeah. And Ongaro, awesome drive as well. For a
pudgy
boy.
little Ongaro still driving him. Egan. Like this is when the world kind of got introduced to him.
Yeah, with Ferry as his mechanic. He's an awesome mechanic. So,
and
there you go.
Little did we know, like 2 years later, that this young man would be a world champion.
Yeah, exactly. Good team.
Anything else you remember about this trip in Vegas? This Worlds in Vegas that stands out?
Not really, because in Vegas it's so busy, isn't it? It's not like you going to a hotel in the country, like where a lot of races. There's lots of races there. We had a lot of fun, gambling and stuff like that, but it gets overwhelming after a while. Vegas I can only stomach for about 3 days, and then I've had enough of hearing the ding, 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 and all that lot. And there's even gambling machines in the toilets and stuff like that. So
it's crazy.
Yeah, Vegas is, so not really anything exciting stood out, apart from the, just at the track. I loved it because obviously Elliott was doing really well. DQ'd free. Couldn't ask for more and that, and we still didn't get TQ, and TQ trophy was absolutely amazing. And again, we didn't even go because you're going to get charged to go to the drivers thing, which was a shame. And there was a big protest, obviously, with Mayfield and JQ. No,
that was in Australia. This was in Australia at the banquet.
I didn't go to that banquet.
Right, so this happened in Australia. The next one.
I thought that was a Vegas one.
Sorry. No. This was in Australia. I actually qualified for this route. I just never had the money to go. Yeah, I qualified through the Dominican. I would have been way on, but we got 2 spots and I qualified for one.
Did you go?
No. This will be my first route that I'm going to.
Yeah? I'm sure you were at Vegas.
No, you probably. I am. That's why I'm so excited. I'm so excited. My first worlds and at Redovan at that. All right,
you'll love Redovan.
I think so. So what people have to understand that from that time, 2016 to 2018, like Ongaro took the RC world by storm. Yeah. Like he came out, he won, and while he's doing this, the allegations of gyros are flying.
Yeah, even at. I didn't go to the dirt that year.
It started at the dirt. Actually, it started from this race. It started from the 2016 Worlds where people started saying, "Oh, he's got a gyro," and then it kind of came to a head with Yao and Barufalo in 2018 because they went to the dirt. So, and then it didn't help that Ongaro goes to Neo race, loses almost 3/4 of his wing and still wins. And people's like, "Wow, how can he win with no wing?" and all this type of stuff. It was amazing. But what Ongaro did in that 2 years, because he went to Associated, he just transformed from this pudgy little kid who finished 6th to this like superpower in RC. Going into I think he went into 2018. We go to Perth. It's a lot of. Did they have a warm up?
Yeah, we went to the warm up. I couldn't believe that we went to Australia for a week.
So they had a warm up, and then they actually made it a 10-day world so people could get more practice.
Yeah.
So they had a warm up. First worlds in Australia. I have to give it. I did enjoy this. I thought the coverage was good. I wasn't there. The racing was good. But we also had a lot of drama after the fact at this race. And tell us what you remember about this race going in. You was with Elliott. You guys are still with Elliott, right, at this time? 2018. He was still on Kyosho. He was probably at the very height of his peak of his career, I would say. Yeah.
That's why I thought I had more confidence in him winning there than I did in Vegas, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
So we went there, went to the warm up. We finished 3rd in the warm up we had a kingpin come loose in the final, so we couldn't really push. We were just driving steady in the warm up race and finished 3rd. So it was Ronafalk won it, and what's his name? the Australian young guy. McBride, that's his dad's name.
Kyle McBride.
Kyle McBride. Yeah, Kyle McBride was second, and then we were third, but not too far behind with a kingpin missing at the bottom. So
that's reassuring. Do you think so? Give me your opinion on warm-ups. What do you think about them?
I think they're a waste of time because the track's changed, different again, and I think it's unfair to the drivers that haven't got a budget. I still think it should be a fresh track that no one's driven on before.
Okay.
It should be all totally bulldozed, and that's it. So,
okay. So you're not going to be in favor with Redovon not changing the complete track here, or is it?
No, not really.
Okay.
No.
Well, we'll touch on that in a minute. So Perth did a whole new track rebuild. Yeah. They and then once again, watering was allowed at this track at this race because I think it just made the surface better. They used ship rope as a track boundary, which we used in Bermuda. I'm very familiar with this stuff. It can break. It can hurt you.
It catches donuts.
Yeah. It isn't like you don't bounce off it. You know what I mean? Like pipes.
The thing is though, people complain about it and because it's different, but it's the same for everyone.
I
agree. Track is the same for everyone. So you stay away from there. Then
pretty simple. Pretty simple.
Yeah. You drive on the track. But we got screwed as soon as we went there. For some reason, Elliott finished 10th in the world, the last Worlds. For some reason, they put him in Heat 1 or Heat 2. So we were basically cleaning the track. We asked, even the organiser come up to us and said, do you want to be moved? And we said, yeah, it would be nice to race with someone, who's in the same stand as us, because everyone else was all in like Heat 14 or Heat 16 or something like that, however many heats there was. All the top 30 drivers were all in the good heats, and we were in some reason. So before the meeting even started, they said, do you want to be moved? So it wouldn't make any difference to anybody. We hadn't had a drive or anything like that. And Gord says, no, I'm not having that. He stays where he is. And that was it. And that was Gord on his rant for the whole world. He was the one that
That's a great area. That's a great area I talk about that Tasman's operate in. It's not it's not illegal. It's not it's not wrong, but it's not what's the word? It's not ethical, I would say. Is that a good word to use for it?
Yeah, definitely.
That's the gray area that they operate in. That's when I say they operate. They so what I mean by that is they go to every extreme to make it an advantage, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's nothing wrong with that. But I think it comes to a point of ethics. Like, come on, like if you want to have all your competition have the same playing field as you. Yeah. So. But this was, this turned out to be, I think Ryan Mayfield was one of the favorites going in, Tasman, Ronafalk, and Ongaro. And then Ongaro just put on a clinic, man. He put on a clinic. Yeah. Well, when Ronafalk had his issues as well with the clutch, I think it would have been a different story there. Yeah, but I don't
think he would have, he still would have won if he hadn't had the issue. He didn't look as good as, but David's a fighter anyway. In his driving anyway, he can fight.
Yeah.
But I think that just killed it for him when he had to come in the pits twice and try and clear the clutch.
Yeah, and I just don't think that Tasman and Mayfield would have caught, not Ongaro, not that day.
No.
Not the way he was driving.
No.
And, I mean, he was just, you watch him and you see him do these things. You see him do these things with his car, and then you think why people think the way they think, because it's amazing what he's doing. Yeah. But then, of course, this race was kind of, as soon as it was the first race, as we talked about earlier, that we've seen a protest, especially to this, like to the winner. I don't think it's ever been done. Yeah. Protest to win, takes an hour of, they strip his car. Did they strip his car completely?
Yeah, they stripped it, and then there was Mike Truey in there looking at the radio and that, and everyone looking through, and I think it was totally out of order. I felt totally sorry for a young Ongaro to win your world championship and then think you're going to have it taken away because someone's put a protest in because they think he's got a gyro because they didn't win. Mm-hmm. It's total bad sportsmanship in the whole thing. If someone has to win by cheating, let them have their day and win by cheating. If they feel good like that, then fair play to them. If that makes them feel good that they've got to cheat, but to not win and then complain about someone else winning and put a protest in, I think it's pretty shitty, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the rumors is that Gore did the protest. The rumors is.
Yeah.
So that's never been confirmed, but that's a rumor.
No. Yeah, so who paid the money though? Someone. This is another thing that I never see anybody official protest. You got to pay, was it $200 or something like that to put the protest in? I don't think anyone put any protest in with any money. It was just all verbal, and they got bullied into it, you know. And that was it. So the people did what they had to, and they called Mike Truey in to check, which I don't think. Nothing against Mike. He's a nice guy, but he shouldn't have been in there checking the radio.
Not with people with vested interest in the other two positions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So because obviously Mayfield would have gained second place out of it. So yeah, but
he also had some fallout.
Yeah. That was quite interesting. Yeah, this
was a very interesting world. I think it was like So anyway, if people don't remember, so he was running Reds, and he was caught. I think it was Chris Sarkis who caught it on camera with that long lens. So he ended up running an OS engine with a Reds head, and that caused a whole. I think that actually caused more drama after that than the whole protest incident. And then that's also the infamous Banquet when he told JQ about that. So I figured by that time Mayfield had a bunch of Coors Lights in, and then I think JQ went up there and said something about for the biggest. Drake didn't show up for the biggest club race in the world, and JQ won like 35 plus. Of course, JQ said something smart, and then Mayfield went up there and defended Drake. But that's cool. I actually thought they were really enemies after that, and then I think 2019 DNC, like Mayfield and him were talking, and he goes, "Yeah, even Keenan thinks you and I ain't friends," and then it was just kind of talking, but.
No, but Mayfield's pretty cool, really. Yeah. He's how it is, and that's it. It's done.
Yeah,
he's I like the other guy.
I like him. I think I like.
You get a lot of the guys, don't you? That like say loads of things and behind the back and everything, and then they're nice to your face, and that's it.
No, but Mayfield's like this. If he don't like you, he'll tell you. And if you wreck him, he'll tell you too, as we've seen, and I love it.
Yeah,
and I think he's one of the favorites to win this race going into next weekend, and I know you're going to be there. This will be your wow. So 1990. So this will be Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. You missed 2010. So 20. This will be your 20th Worlds. 22.
Yeah.
What do you think about it? I know. So we touched on this.
Sorry, it won't be 22, will it? Because we didn't do the 20.
Right. So it's 20.
Yeah. 20,
but
or
you said there's been some, we got the Americans talking about the track as well, being a permanent track. I haven't seen any pictures of it. I did have Baldo on the pod last week. He said the track still keeps its essence, but it has been changed. Obviously, they're going to keep some parts of it.
Yeah.
As a track, period, what do you think about the track? Because it is probably one of the biggest tracks we've been to.
I think it's a proper, awesome rallycross track, which sorts the men out from the boys. You got to be good at distance driving, because that track is a far distance, but it's also very wide as well. But you're in a good position where you are on the rostrum. I think the rostrum helps it out, because the position of it is obviously you've got a higher side so you can see quite easy, and then you've got a downhill, so it makes it easier for the further distance at the bottom of the track to see. But it was crazy. I remember when Elliot was qualifying in the Euros, we had this sort of like freak dust storm. This wind come across and it just blew all the dust up. And going down the hill, Elliot at one time said I couldn't even see the car going over the big down the bottom. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting.
So,
do you think
it will be?
Go ahead. Sorry.
So, yeah, I think you got to have a strong car for that, because it's really hard on the gearboxes for them big downhill jumps and uphill. You need a lot of horsepower and a strong gearbox in your car,
and you have to be your fuel economy has to be on point, because you will not make a. It's 52-second, 51-second lap. We're talking about her.
Yeah, I think if you're on a 50, either a 52 or a 54-second lap, if I can remember correctly, you were doing good. But average guys were doing like 1 minute laps. 1 minute 02s and that.
I think it's going to be interesting. Do you think the Americans are justified in the permanent track thing? You think I mean, you do look. We all agree that the best thing is to have a fresh track for everybody.
Yeah,
we can all agree with that.
Yeah,
but I feel like these guys are professionals. I mean, we're talking about like Mayfield, Fend. I have to say Mayfield, Fend, Tasman, because I think they're like the three fastest North Americans right now. There'll be more. Yeah. There'll be more. But I think like it's just like this. You're professional. It's just you approach it in a different way.
Americans are good. They like. I know our European bigger tracks don't suit their style, but they get the hang of it. Mm-hmm. You know, give them like 3 days after practice and they'll be up to speed with everyone else.
Yeah, they got 6 rounds of 10-minute practice.
Yeah, exactly. Same as everyone else.
I think it's going to come out to tires, like a lot of things. I think the European tires will do well there. And I think AKA and Proline will do well. And the big if everybody is saying is Jay Concepts, but I'm sure they'll figure that out as well. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. Do you think this is probably, for me, I feel we have 4 years of, for me, I kind of felt like there was a narrative to maybe not that the worlds aren't really as important as they used to be. And I think that's wrong because we haven't had a worlds for 4 years, you know. It's been desperately needed. And it is the one thing that one place and one race where we do get the best in the world racing against each other, no matter where it is. And I think we need to see more of this. But I definitely, I'm a big, even though I criticize the federations, I am a big supporter of them. I think we need them. I think we need the IFMAR Worlds. I think the IFMAR Worlds needs to do more for the industry too, in a certain way. Okay. Especially like I didn't know you had to pay for a damn banquet. So, you know, they should be putting that on, I think, you know, and not the host track. Because I know a lot of with these events and these federations, I know the host tracks incur a lot of the costs as well. Yeah. So you either get a free ticket to the banquet, but you have your mechanic and your family, don't you, that go with it. So they should be all included as well. It should be everyone that's in that track should be allowed to go, you know, to this banquet. It shouldn't be. Doesn't have to be a big sit-down meal or anything like that. It's a presentation, you know. Yeah. How about Kyosho? I mean, I think you got Yao, you got Lutz. Is Polito going? Yeah, Polito's going as well. Yeah, good. So I think he'll do well. I think it'd be scary for people. I think Yao is very fast. He needs. I think he looked really good in Barcelos. I think Yao can make the main her, and I expect Lutz to be close to as well. I think he can make the main. He did really well at Wicked Weekend her recently. Seems to be happy in a good spot, and I would like to see him do well. Yeah. How about you? Who are your favorites? I know you got to pick Kyosho guys, but Kyosho guys aside, who are your favorites going into this race? Who do you expect will be? Who do you think will win? I know it's hard to say, but we were talking about it. Funny enough, and we had it's going to be, I think, Ronnefolt or Mayfield. Okay. I wouldn't disagree with that. Any reason why you don't have Ongaro in there? I don't know. I'd like to think that he's still the same, but he just seems to be just a little bit off lately. I will say this. At RCGP in UK, even though he won the 60-minute final, I didn't have him as the most dominant driver there that weekend. Yeah. Exactly. Usually he's like he's on it, isn't he? And he's away and he's super fast. And even at the warm up, he wasn't. Yeah. You know, Baldo was away, going and away, but but then again, his Ongaro, and he just pulls off. He seems to find a way to do it all the time. It seems. Yeah. Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting. I would Mayfield's best chance, you think, to win the Worlds, or does he have more? I think it's his one and only, I think, now. So I think after that. But it'd be interesting to see how he finds. I know he's getting on a little bit now. So, but I think we're going to see how long a guy can be fast with Mayfield. Yeah. I think he's going to be the one. But it'd be interesting because it'll be a lot of eye strain with that. Right. With that track. And so obviously the younger will benefit from that and stay there. How about the veterans like Tebow and Cavallari? You think that they'll be in the mix, or you think this is the year we don't see them in the finals? Yeah, I don't think so, to be totally honest with you. No, I've got to be honest. That's so crazy to think that nowadays.
I could see them getting in the semi-finals,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't honestly see them getting into there. You know,
Level European.
Their experience is good though.
Right,
You know,
right.
they're fight well. So I think semi-finals, and then it'd be interesting.
The level of European talent is immense. I think the level of talent competition going into this world is something that we
youngsters.
haven't seen.
Yeah. It's the young guns you got to look out for. Unfortunately, they won't have the experience to keep the car going for the hour, you know, in the final if they get in there, because that track is tough on cars. So
I mean, well, look, I mean, Battier was 2016. Battier was leading, lost a servo. Ronafalk leading, lost a servo. Boots inherits the lead and walks away with it. So
yeah, because we went to the warm-up that year and we didn't even make the final there, but we learned so much because we were killing the car. You know, Elliot was landing on power, you know, so it was killing the gearboxes. So we were just killing, and the engine was moving as he's landing. So even when he won the Euro, we drew a map of the track, and I was saying, here, when you land, if you're going to land flat or whatever, don't put any power on. No brakes, no power. You know, in certain parts, I was telling him, just going through it before we started the final. And he did everything we said, basically. And we were in it, you know, and we won it. But the only thing he did wrong was he come in one lap earlier than what he should have done. He thought we called him in because we didn't have headsets then.
it's going to be interesting. I think Kyosho will be all right. I think Polito will be very interesting. No disrespect to Renault. I just don't see him in the semis, but he could prove me wrong. But that's just because he's getting older, you know.
Going back to Tebow and Cav and Renault, I think their experience could pay off that track. If they get in the semi-finals, then I think they've got a good chance of getting in the final. Then it's down to, you know, keeping the car going, keeping it in one piece.
I wouldn't argue with that at all. Experience is key, especially in these type of races, and it's a 60-minute final.
Yeah, and this track is fully demanding on everything, the driver and the cars especially.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, and the fuel mileage as well. Because if you're doing like 52-second laps, or if you're really flat out, you know, you got to call that 7.5 minutes or 6:40, and you're in. This is where I was worried when Elliot would come in that fuel stop one lap too early. It made my decision of, like, in between the two, we had, you know, 12 minutes to go. When do I bring him in? You know?
Yeah, and nobody's really seen the track yet. So I think they were we're recording. This is Tuesday that we're recording this. This will come out probably after the track's been revealed, but I think they're going to reveal it on a Wednesday.
Okay.
So but they said it's Baldo said it's going to be one part that's going to be really difficult to do, but it's going to still be Euro style track. It's still going to keep the same essence. I'm like, man, that track's so huge. I heard people have that, like the latency between where they can see their car and the actions that they're doing is affected. So I think we haven't seen anything like this. I think we talk about the European talent, but there's a lot of young American talent too. I think we're going to see people like Mason Fuller do really well. And I think it's good to see. We need this. We need more competitions where we see the best in the world racing against each other, because Europe has so much to offer. And I think nowadays, as the world has gotten more popular and information is much more available to people, I think we're going to see thousands of people just tuning into this from around the world next week. All right, Mick. Well, thank you for your time. It was an excellent chat. I knew I was going to enjoy this chat. That's why I was looking forward to it. You've been also a great guest on this podcast many times, so thank you for coming back. I look forward to seeing you again here in Spain. And man, it's going to be a good week of racing, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, man. Well, thank you for your time, and safe travels to Spain. And I wish you and the Kyosho team all the luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, man. Lots of history you heard. Now we have it written. We got to we got to get Phil. Well, you gave me the links. We need to see if we can get Phil, or let me post them up so people can go read them or whatever. because great blogs, lots of history, lots of information. And thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Anytime. Look forward to seeing you again.
All righty. And a big thank you to Mick Cradock for his time. I had an excellent time sitting off with him. I did figure that this pod was going to go long because Mick has a lot of information stored up. And even you can see he enjoyed just talking about past times and all that stuff. And I hope you got a little better feel of why the IFMAR world is so important. I really look forward to this world's coming up. And I want to thank Mick for just, giving a little bit of his time and his knowledge. And, when a man has been to every world, he's been to 20 worlds. He missed 2010. So, he's coming on his 20th world. Sorry. There's a plethora of information there. And I want to just thank him for being so thoughtful and being able to remember these things and being able to share his experiences with us. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you, Mick. And also, you guys, remember, I'm doing some blogs about each team. You can follow them every day. I'm going to try and do one every day. In fact, after I finish recording this, I'm going to go finish off one. Also, you can check out episode 203. That is 204, sorry, with Brian Baldo. He talks a little bit more about the track. And look forward to all the content we're going to bring you next week from Redavon. Also, we have one more podcast dropping with Robert Battier later on this week as well. But please enjoy this episode 205, Mick Cradock, with a little bit of world's history. With that said, I want to say thank you to all of the NNRC Squad around the world. We can't do it without you guys. Remember, please help us grow that YouTube and our Instagram. Let's get up to 1,000 followers on Instagram. Remember, I had to start the Instagram all over after my Facebook got hacked. So let's get the Instagram going. Also, let's get that YouTube channel going, man. I want to get it to 3,000 subs. If you haven't already, go hit up that sub, that notification button, hit that like button, leave a comment, hit dislike if you want. Sure, but we need your help in getting the YouTube, the NNRC YouTube. We need to grow that. We really need to grow that. So I want to thank you for all that support. Also, to the patrons of the podcast, thank you for the extra support. You guys get early access to this podcast. If you wish to be a patron, you can. The link is written in the description of this podcast. Also, we have something new. We have members on YouTube for $1.99 for the cup of coffee a month. You can support the podcast and get some early treatment. Or when that gets going, we'll have members only stuff and YouTube and all that stuff as well. But that helps. RC Racing doesn't pay that well, so we have to generate revenue at not for me anyway. Not for the podcast, not for what I do. I'm sure there's plenty of people making some good money in RC, but we greatly appreciate the support, and we need to generate revenue from every chance we can, because it's important to keep on going and keep things going, keep the bills paid, keep traveling to races and bringing you guys the content that you deserve as listeners of the NNRC. So thank you to the patrons and the future supporters through YouTube of that. Also, shout out to the awesome sponsors of this podcast. Remember, everybody, we have links for affiliate links, coupon codes. Some companies don't have coupon codes. You just leave them a note saying you heard about it on the NNRC. Sharing the sponsor some love, shares the podcast some love, everybody. So please, a big shout out and thank you to Invisible Speed, TZO 200 Tires, TNR Fuels, High Tech RC, Beach RC, Mayako, Techno RC, RCGP, Papa Willie's Traction Tonic, G-Spec RC Tuning, Sampadal USA, Racecraft USA, Clinic RC, House of RC. Shout out to RC Raceway in Alabama. Also, shout out to David Ronnefalk, Alexander Hagberg, Jared T. and Robert Batty for their support of the podcast. We greatly appreciate that. With that said, Nitro is the glory. E-Buggy pays the bills. The worlds are coming, everybody. I hope you guys are ready. I hope you're getting excited, because I am excited. With that said, thank you to Mick Cradock for his time. Thank you guys for all the support. Lefty is out.